Me and my girls just want to die. And that's why we can see each other's ground. Wings flying down. Hey. Me and my girl flying down. And that's why we can see each other's ground. Wings flying down. Hey. Me and my girls just want to die. And that's why we can see each other's ground. Wings flying down. Hey. Me and my girls just want to die. And that's why we can see each other's ground. Wings flying down. What's up, everybody, and welcome to the season finale of the Queen's Wind Down. I am your leading lady, Tyra Hill, and tonight's conversation is going to be off the chain. I am excited about tonight's show. I am excited about my season thus far. It has been a dope season. I've had some phenomenal guests on this season, and I'm looking forward to tonight's season finale. So if you don't know, I am your leading lady, Tyra Hill, and I am a company owner. I do media. This is what I do, media. So the Tyra Hill Show is my baby. The Queen's Wind Down is my web show. This is what you're viewing right now. And then there is Tyra Hill's International Live Jam Session. So tonight, I have a dope conversation in store for you all. I'm trying to put on my shoe. I'm sorry. Tonight's conversation starts off with some dope, phenomenal queens. And tonight we're talking about it. Tonight we are talking about the Black woman in America. And immediately after this show, we'll be talking about the Black man in America. But before we go there, I want to welcome all my first-time listeners, all my first-time viewers. Thank you for tuning in. And if you are a fan, welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. Be sure that you connect with all of my guests on tonight. Tonight, y'all, I'm talking with some dope queens. And to kick it off, to start this conversation with the queens, I introduced to some my girl, Vakayla Pope. Vakayla, Flint, Michigan. She lives in Norfolk, Virginia. She is the team leader at the Pope Team and Prodigy Realty. She is a 10-year Navy veteran, and she's a boss babe. Ladies and gentlemen, queens and kings, welcome my girl, Vakayla Pope. Hey, Kayla.
Hey, dear.
How are you?
Awesome. How you doing? Excited to be here.
Welcome. I'm so excited to have you.
Me too. I'm happy to be here. I'm so proud of you.
Thank you. I'm even more proud of you. That's that Black girl magic. I'm even more proud of you. So you ready to meet your next guest co-host?
I am.
Your guest co-host. Coming up next, one of my sweethearts. She goes by the name of Shalise Williams. She is the founder and executive director of the Treehouse Project Incorporation, a nonprofit organization with a mission to connect at-risk youth to vital resources needed for fundamental transitions as they transition into adulthood. Shalise is also a youth program manager and coordinator for Above It All Mental Health and No Boundaries Coalition. Shalise Williams, welcome, Queen.
Hi, everybody.
How are
y'all
you
doing tonight? I'm good.
I'm so excited to have you. You ready to get into it?
Yes, ma'am. I've been waiting all week for this. I'm ready.
Oh, I'm ready too. I am so ready too. The next queen that will be joining this conversation, I'm popping my collar tonight because it's my season finale. Hold on. Let me make sure I don't want to show too much though. There we go. The next queen that will be joining this conversation is also one of my sweethearts. Her name is Chia Morgan. Chia graduated from the University of Michigan, Flint. Chia obtained a bachelor's in social work and master's in public administration. She is currently a member of the selection committee for the Voices for Children Champions Award Breakfast. Chia Morgan is a board commissioner for the Flint Housing Commission and is a member of the Neighborhood Small Grants Committee for the Community Foundation of Greater Flint. Queens and Kings, welcome Chia Morgan to the conversation. Chia!
Hey, Tyra.
How are you?
I'm good. I'm happy to be here. Now, Tyra, you know I love you because I said I wasn't showing my face for a year. But if you call, I'm answering because you show love to all the queens.
You went on a social media hiatus.
I'm only 5 days in. I got 360 more to go.
So you're taking a year off social media?
1 whole year.
Well, let's get into it then. I'm glad that you came back for me. I absolutely love you and I appreciate you. As y'all can see, I got my Madam Vice President next to me.
Is that my Vice President?
Yes, this is Madam Vice President. And this is Mr. President.
Is that my president?
Yeah, that's your president. So I'm excited about tonight's show. Tonight we're talking the Black woman in America. And I know you queens have experienced some things just by being Black women, right? And so before we get off up into the conversation, I want to start it off with a positive. I want to talk about the achievements of Black women within America. I think sometimes people forget that this country is on the shoulders and on the backs of Black women. And I want to go a little bit further and deeper. And what I mean by that is, even when we think about the ancestors, we think about how they not only had to nurture their children and their families, they also had to nurture their masters' families, their children, by breastfeeding them, cooking for them, cleaning for them, and having sex with their husbands, right? And so for me, I know from just listening to some of the elders that we have always been the foundation of this country. And so it did my heart good to see Madam Vice President Kamala Harris get elected to be Vice President of the United States. How y'all feeling about that?
I love it.
My chest is poked out and I got my pearls.
Very proud moment for us. Yeah.
My Vice President, because it's an accomplishment that we didn't think America was worth.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. And so do you think America is really ready for a female vice president, an African American who we know has different ethnicities connected to her, but do you think that they're ready for a female African American female vice president?
I believe they are. And I believe
the numbers showed it. It wasn't just the electoral. It was some popular vote out there too that said that America is.
Mm-hmm. 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 And so let's talk about her journey there. We see it a lot of times, and we've seen it from the current president and his administration when they talk about Black women. Mm-hmm. How he downgrades Black women, how he calls us ghetto. One of my favorite White House correspondents, April Ryan, I remember her being attacked because they said that she was moving her neck too much when she was asking questions during press conferences. And so in the beginning, when they announced Kamala's, Madam Vice President Kamala Harris run with Joe Biden, the attacks began.
Within like 3 minutes, Tyra.
Mm-hmm.
Not the next day, like literally within like 2 or 3 minutes. It was sick.
And so, Shalice, you work with young women. And how are they feeling about seeing a Black girl who look like them sit in the vice president's chair?
So I'll be meeting with the girls this upcoming week to see, how they feel about it and what this means to them. But I'm certain after all the talks that we have had, that this is a proud moment for everyone. And this gives them, just that push to say, you can be that, you can do that, just strive for it. I know in a lot of the conversations that we have had in a lot of our groups, it's like we have a lot of odds stacked against us, and we're fighting through that on the regular. So when this conversation comes up this week, I do look forward to seeing how these girls feel and how this makes them feel about their journey and how they can, what they have to look forward to in life. But I think that this means a lot to young women. It meant a lot to me. So I know that it's going to mean a lot to them.
Okay, so when we talk, because we see it a lot on social media, we see a lot of the bullying, like it was so much political bullying going on with not just this election, but with Black women leaders. I want to talk about Mayor Keisha Lance Bottoms in Atlanta. When I think about her, I think about all the other Black mayors in urban cities. Mayor Karen Weaver, she was bullied. You know what I'm saying? And so when I think about the Black woman and everything that we endure just to birth, not even in the natural, I'm not even talking about children. I'm talking about just to birth the movement. Because we've always been the mothers of the movement. And what I mean by that is we give life. So every person that is out there making the world a better place, every person that's out there like you, Chia, every person that's out there like you, Shalise, and you, Vakayla, that's out there doing the work, being the change that they want to see, as mothers, we're rearing up our children to do the same thing. So that's what I mean when I say we are birthers of movements. We'll birth a whole movement, and like Stacey Abrams. Let's talk about Queen Stacey Abrams. 2018, Stacey Abrams.
Can I talk about her?
Yes, let's talk about the Queen Stacey Abrams, honey. 2018.
I just want to say, she has said something for me. They stole the election, and she basically said, I'm going to help mobilize this next election. She didn't get bitter. She didn't get mad. She said, what can I do to show y'all why I should have had that seat? For the greater good.
When we say that they stole the election, let's get into facts. It was a lot of voter suppression going on in Atlanta. This is why this administration downplayed the power of Georgia. It was a lot of voter suppression in Georgia. I'm sorry. But this administration downplayed the power of Georgia. They forgot the fact that after they bamboozled Stacey Abrams up out of the governor's job, that she came forth with a plan and birthed a movement that allowed this country to have over 800,000 new voters for this election.
In 1 year.
In 1 year.
Let's not forget, in 1 year.
In 1 year. And so for me, that's what I talk about when I say Black girl magic and us birthing movements. That was exceptionally dope, even knowing everything that she had to endure while she watched them rob her of that election.
But that's what we have to do. That's the part that we always miss. Even though you were done wrong, people tend to cut themselves off and not share whatever they were going to do because they thought it was supposed to be done with them in the number one spot. But see, she came through and still said, I'm going to share what I know. It's going to be good for everybody.
And she galvanized. She organized.
Right. Instead of sitting back and waiting until she felt it was her turn, but it was always her turn. You know, it's never really how we think it should be done, but she still pushed through and did what she had to do. So when her turn comes, like she deserves, then she's going to be all right. She's going to already have things in place, and then they cannot take that away from her.
Right. Right. And when we think about Stacey Abrams, we also think about Simone Sanders, who was another pivotal and very instrumental in this past election. Chia, I know Simone Sanders is your girl. Like,
Simone is my girl. And for me, it was just like, it was such a proud moment. Like, everybody that know me know I love Joy Ann Reid and Simone Sanders. Even when they wrong, they not wrong in my eyes. So when he announced her as his national surrogate, it really did something for me, because Simone has tirelessly called out racism and misogyny in this country for years going by. It was nobody else that I think could have led his campaign the way that she did. And when I sat on social media and I saw people say Joe Biden is forget the Black community, it was no way that he could have elected Simone to her role in his cabinet and then say he was forgetting the Black community, because everything she has done was to build up her sisters and to build up the Black community and allow us to stand on her shoulders. She stands up, and I think it was Kayla who said we get talked to about our neck movement, and she would get on CNN and she would get on MSNBC with her long nails, but her intellect was not missing. They heard what she said the first time. With all of her Black girl dialect and all of her Black girl magic. And she needs to be standing proud today for what she has contributed to this country through the Joe Biden campaign.
Absolutely.
Ayanna Pressley too, but Chia, you just said something and I want to talk about it. Why is it that we always have to seem to water ourselves down to fit in as Black women?
Because they scared.
Tyra, you know me, I'm super transparent. So I am not in my employer at all. But when I was younger, I got spoken to about I was intimidating not because of my tone, not because of what I said, but because my aura just made those around me feel. I said, so can you name a time where I didn't help them? Can you name a time where I was outside of policy? No, just feel that maybe, it's just your personality. And you hear that so much about us. And so we have to be careful, because if we do our job too well, we're trying to be a know-it-all. And if we do it too quick, we're trying not to help others. And it's just our culture. We talk with our hands. Some of us talk fast. And we've been taught from 5 or 6 years old that you have to go a little above and beyond, always transcend to them showing appreciativeness for that in the workplace. Now, luckily, I'm in a place now where everybody's individuality is respected. So this is no bearing on my current position, but you've seen it time and time again where it's not respected. And it's not one job, it's not two jobs, it's not one job sector. It's a thing.
And it is. I had an employer who hated me. Most of all my employers hated me. And I don't know if that's a good thing or a bad thing, but I always knew that I was a leader and I always did my job. I always went above and beyond at my job. And so when I say the employer hated me, I mean like management, but the owners would love me, right? But I had this one boss and we had staff meetings every Monday, female. We had staff meetings every Monday, Black woman, let me say this. And I walked in and she pulled me to the side. No, she didn't. I walked past her, and when I walked past her, she said, And so I looked, and before she started the meeting, she looked at me in front of everybody and was like, you need to dress better. The way you come up in here, you should be ashamed of yourself. Now, me, I'm speechless because I can't believe this old heifer just said that. But the crazy thing about it was a nonprofit organization in Baltimore, and we worked with transgenders, right? And I'll never forget this transgender. Her name was Lauren. I love me some Lauren. Lauren said, "Who you talking to? I know you ain't talking to Tyra because she come through here snatched every day." And everybody was like, "Yeah, like Tyra is one of the best dressers in the office." But right then and there, when I looked at her, I saw the hate that she literally had for me. It was the hate. And if I was not confident in who I was, if I wasn't sure of who I was, that could have possibly broke me and destroyed me.
Was she an older Black woman?
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, because I definitely can speak on that. That has always been one of my things that I always encourage Black women to really nurture the younger Black woman, because again, that moment for you could have stopped today. That could have stopped us from being on the Queen's Wind Down and you progressing to where you needed to be, because you internalized that thing and thought, oh, I don't need to be as outgoing. I don't need to be myself. And I've been in situations where I was in a workplace where I was the youngest Black woman that worked there. Not only, and I talk about this too, the fight that we have to fight as Black women. As a Black woman, I don't have a degree. So that's one thing. So I'm a young Black girl, no degree, with potential skill and potential and skills. And I'm in a workplace with Black women who are older than me, who have degrees, but they're looking at me in a way that I don't deserve, what I have coming my way. But I went through those years, and when I got through those things, I wondered to myself, why were those Black women so against me? Why weren't they pulling me up? I've had situations similar to the one that you just explained, and I truly encourage Black women, we not outshining each other. I think about how well that business could have done had we worked together, but we were in a place where we were against, well, I can't say we were against one another, but I definitely felt like me, when I was younger, that could have been any Black girl. It wasn't even about it being me. It could have been any Black girl. But we have to do better with pulling our young women up, because even if it was something about your outfit that was a teachable moment, it didn't have to be taught in that way.
That's right.
So there's the difference too. There's a big difference there. So to our Black women that are watching, and to us, just talking right now, we have got to do better with how we nurture and bring up the young Black women that are coming behind us, because we never know who they're going to become. When we started talking, when we first got on our conversation, you were talking about Wendy Williams. And to me, I know who Wendy Williams is to a bunch of people, but Tyra Hill is my Wendy Williams. You feel me?
Oh, well, let me be clear on what I said. Let me say it again, because anything I say once, I'm going to say twice, 3, 4, 5, 6 times if need be. What I said was, when I do the show, there is a sound check and a video check to make sure that everybody is seen and everybody is heard. So there is a call time in production. When I give a call time, and I have to email guests or inbox guests that we're waiting on you to do sound check, that's a problem for me, because if it was Wendy Williams, your ass would have been there early. And so we were talking behind the scenes, and I said, that bothers me. It bothers me because, and Shalise, I love you so much, because I'm your Wendy Williams. Let me tell you something. I done been called a fake ass Oprah. I done been called a fake ass Beyonce, honey. And let me tell you something. And those are 3 of the dopest queens to be in the entertainment industry. Right? And so I'm honored by that. Yes, Wendy got some shit with her. Oprah got some shit with her. B got some shit with her. But at the end of the day, those are queens who have paved the way and who has changed the game dramatically. Right? And so I'm honored by that. But that bothers me when we don't handle each other the way that we should. That's a problem for me. Don't play me like this. And then you will hear people say, oh, your little bitty show. What you mean? I done been to London. I done walked in London Fashion Week. I've been the only American media to cover London Fashion Week. Ain't nothing little about Tyra Hill, honey. And so you hear the shade from women, Black women, your sisters, who claim to support you. And so that's why you never see me downplaying anything anybody does. One reason being because the Bible tells us that when we start small, that's a humbling process. Never despise small beginnings. I remember my very first logo for the Tyra Hill Show. I remember not being able to have the money or the sponsors to do stellar awards. I remember the beginning, and I never despised my small beginning. So what people will not do, because you teach people how to treat you, what people will not do is play with my brand. Because just like Wendy Williams serious about hers, T. Hill serious about hers too. I'll drink to that. Cheers. So that's what we was talking about. But Shalise, I love you. And that's why even with you, when I first got introduced to the Treehouse Project, I loved on y'all so tough. I did. And I know it was kind of scary for y'all in the beginning. Because I was, okay, what I need? I would speak up to little meetings, bring donuts and, or just, show up at your planning meetings. And you're so professional, by the way. I love how y'all get down. But it was important to me, and I said this to you, that I be the change that I want to see, because in my generation, we messed up. I said that to you. We messed up in my generation. We don't embrace the sisterhood. And I love the fact that when I see you working with these young women in the community, that they're taught to embrace the sisterhood. Like, I tickle myself because when I think about the Treehouse Project, I said, guess what? You mess with one, you're going to get banked by all. Because that's just how thick y'all are.
It is that tight. It's that tight.
And so for me, even with you, Chia, when you say, or you'll text me and you will say something, I consider you guys my little sisters. And so I need to know what's going on in your lives. I need to be able to pull you up to encourage you. You shouldn't just hear from me when you're doing something that's out of pocket. See, the reason why it's hard for women to correct other women, and they do it with so much malicious or malice and so much anger, is because there is no relationship.
Right.
And you build relationships by simply showing the fuck up. I can't be there for Chia every year when she does the Thanksgiving dinner. Well, of Hope does the Thanksgiving dinner, but my money can. My resources can. I can't be at every Treehouse Project event, but my money can. My resources can. And at the end of the day, we can all eat.
The pie is big enough for everybody, but we have to help each other stretch each other's vision, and to get them to understand that it's so much out there. But you get caught up on how this one little thing, and it's so much bigger than what we can even imagine. And I think the conversation between women helps each other stretch their vision, because I may see something that a person may not even think about. Hey, I never thought about that. And now that's a whole new conversation, or a whole new branch on the treehouse, I guess to say, for lack of better words.
Well, here's the thing. Iron sharpens iron.
That's right.
Shout out to Mayor
Tyra.
Forever, my mayor, former mayor.
Forever, I got a comment about her, and then she popped up, because I remember when she first took office. Listen, she came in. Now, if you ever met her, she kind of soft-spoken. She got real soft hair, so you might get her twisted a little bit. But she hit the ground running for Flint. with the Flint water crisis. Somehow, I still to this day don't know how she ended up in the White House so soon in her tenure as mayor. But I remember being devastated looking at the shade room as Black women degraded her because a doctoral level clinical psychologist pulled up to the White House in a fur. And the comments, because she was at the work to demand better for Flint, y'all wasn't worried about her tenaciousness. Y'all wasn't worried about her determination. All y'all was worried about is why is she at the White House to ask for money in a fur? I can't understand why that was Black women's focus. I mean, do you want her to buy you one? Because of all the positive they could have focused on in that moment, her fur held them up.
But that is the envy and the jealousy that we see within the Black community. And once again, we're not bashing it, but in order to deal with it and to work through it and to be the change that we want to see, we have to call a thing and a spade. So in my world, if it walks like a dog and barks like a dog, then it's a dog. So if we want to see sisterhood or our sisters flourishing, we have to be able to call out the bullshit.
That's right.
And the envy and the jealous has to stop. I never coveted or wanted someone else's life. And life for me has been hard. But at the end of the day, me wanting somebody else's life and what they have is wishing me away. And it's telling God that he messed up when he made me. He didn't make me good enough.
And you don't trust him to bless your life.
Right. And so I never want to, I wish I had what she had. I wish I had, people say this too. I wish I had a husband like you, baby. Let me tell you something.
Keep it real.
He ain't always been grand. And behind the scenes, work has been done. You get what I'm saying? And so I never just really wanted to just walk in anybody else's shoes. I never wanted to have what other people had. I found my own flow. I found and I'm still figuring out at 44. She's figuring out who she is. And so for me, when I see my sisters winning, I'm proud of that shit. I love that shit. There is never any hate. And so that bothers me. Shalice, do you feel like you get hated on a lot because you're so young and you have the job titles and a dope organization and you're the executive director and you're the person who everybody come to when they want a grant and all this other stuff? Do you feel like you be hated on?
I definitely get hated on. It's a fact. I've learned to not allow it to affect me so much. And just like you spoke on the husband thing, it's nothing to hate on. Because if you want this work, if you want this life, get up and go do it the same way I do. I'm up 4:45 every morning. I have not all of these titles and I have 2 small children. I'm a single mom. So if you want it, please let me go on a vacation if you want this life. I literally, and one of the things about jealousy, if people would tap into their purpose, if you lived in your purpose, you wouldn't feel too much of a jealousy about somebody else. Me, I'm living in my purpose. I don't, even some of the names, I'm writing names down that y'all saying because I'm so in my bubble. I'm so in tunnel vision that I don't even always know what's going on outside of what I'm focused on. So focus on, your purpose and what you need to focus on, and you won't have too many jealous tendencies of other people. But I've definitely faced it. I've had friends that I've been this close to, and jealousy has torn apart friendships. But me as a person, I still wish the best for those people, and I just pray that they find their purpose. That's my whole thing. I don't see how you can. What I'm doing with my life is what God aligned for me. If you get into your lane, you can't be, there's no need to be jealous. You would be happy for others because you would see the work that they're doing and what it's producing. I just met Chia. and I'm already, writing down notes about her and how I can possibly support what it is that she's doing in her city. I'm telling you, I didn't wrote down. She got the food pantry. She's on the housing board committee. How can I make a donation? She got Thanksgiving dinners on 11/24. You gotta switch.
Right.
You gotta switch it up because another mind frame could have been like, Chair over there doing her thing and how she doing that and who she thinks she. No, we gotta get rid of that. I want to know, how can I help her?
She a time, so don't. Let me tell you now. She a time, so don't envy her. She need a nap every day.
Tell me about it. I worked from. I have a few youth programs. Yesterday morning, I woke up. I took one of the youth groups to a rock climbing trip. Took them out to lunch. Went from that to another youth group where I had a hotel set up for them. I literally worked the last 24 hours. I got in the house today at 3:00. I said, "Let me lay down because I got to be on here at 5:30." It's nothing. What you see from the outside. With two children, what you see from the outside of somebody else's life, because people gonna see the pictures that I post, people gonna see the pictures from that. They're gonna think what they want, but it's a lot of hard work, it's a lot less sleep, but I'm just doing what I need to do to make a difference in the lives of young people. So, back to what I stated in the beginning, when you living in your purpose, it's about what you're producing. It's about those fruits that you're producing. It's not really about anything else. So all that jealousy and hating on other people, I'm too busy to hate on somebody. What I was gonna hate on them during my nap before we got on the show? When you're busy, you don't have time.
You don't have time. You only have time. But see, that's what real queens do. We adjust each other crowns from time to time, but we love on each other. And so I want to talk about, we talked about jealousy, and that's one of the struggles that we as Black women deal with in America. Jealousy. But when I think about the struggles that we deal with in America, I think about being sexually harassed on the job, things of that nature, not having the help that we should have from our sperm donors or our children's fathers. I think about and I'm going back to when I was that 16-year-old mom. When I first had my son at 16, how I had so many struggles. And even now, I see other sisters struggling with things like daycare. I see other women struggling with finances, making ends meet, robbing Peter to pay Paul.
I be robbing Peter and Paul to pay somebody else.
But here's the thing. That's why, honey, Felice, that's why I rock with you, Shirley.
It's getting done,
because that's 100. This is the life of a lot of Black queens who we don't know by name. We don't know their stories. We don't know their name. All we know is they in the struggle too, right? And so this is why it behooves us to be kinder to each other, a little bit more understanding, and a little less judgmental. And I said this, and I'm gonna give y'all an example. My grandson's sister is gotten older, and she thick, hips, butt, breast, and all. And Shalice, I brought her to the Treehouse Project. Lamira thick, Shalice. And so I got on her because she came to my house, and what she had on was not appropriate enough for Nana. Because I believe that little girls should look like little girls. I believe that you're not gonna wear no Daisy Dukes at Nana's house at 12. And you ain't wearing no damn crop top shirt neither. Because I'm going to snatch it off you and probably wrap it around your neck. And so I said to her, you can't come out to Nana's house until you learn how to dress like a young lady. Because up in here, only queens reign. And so She was like, okay, Nana, but let me tell y'all something. Let me tell y'all how God checked me. He got me good. I was on my way to the store early in the morning, 6 o'clock. And the Holy Spirit said to me, what you said was right, but how you delivered it was wrong. He said, think. Right now, her mom is laid off from the pandemic. Resources aren't there like they were. The money isn't there like they were. So if you don't like how she's dressing, go buy her some clothes.
Mm-hmm.
I said, well, damn. That's how I get on a shopping spree now. But immediately I started crying, y'all, because I felt so bad. Mm-hmm. But a lot of times we don't know the struggles behind the scenes. And we always got our mouth on people. And that's a problem for me. And so what I did was I called and I busted out crying on the phone. I said, Nana, want to apologize to you because I wasn't compassionate. I didn't show you any type of empathy or sympathy. I just didn't like them short ass booty shorts on you. I don't want nobody snatching your ass up. We had a real conversation. I said, but what I'm going to do for you, I'm going to give you a couple of $100 and I want you to go to the store and I want you to purchase some clothes, but don't come back with no tight ass pants, no short ass shorts, no crop tops. And she went and I said this, make sure you buy a couple of bras because our young women, do you know that it's a lot of women and young women who's never been professionally sized for a brassiere?
Yes.
Yes.
For a brassiere?
Yeah.
And so for me, I'm teaching her, but I felt bad because I felt like I judged, but God got me together quick, honey. See, can't nobody correct Tyra Hill but God, and he got me together quick. So
I mean, that matters.
Go ahead, Shalise.
No, I'm just saying that matters. That to me brings the whole thing full circle because you mentioned a little bit earlier, you're still working on you, you're still finding you. So as long as you can identify that and you can work on it, like we talked about a lot of different things, but for me, I'm a solutions person. Everybody I work with, they know I'm a solutions person. We might have all of this stuff going on, but what we gonna do right now? Where we gonna go from here? So you taking it from that moment and doing what you can to move it forward. And at the end of the day, your granddaughter, she still learned something from that. Like I said earlier, the lady who said something to you when you were younger, she could have made that a teachable moment. Regardless, if what your skirt might have been too short or it might have been too tight or whatever it was, it's about making these into teachable moments.
Hating. I had on a badass Donna Karen pantsuit. She was just hating. Like, she was just hating with her old mean ass. You know what I'm saying? I call those type of women bobs, bitter old bitches. Like, I'm not doing that.
Definitely worked for one. She probably watching.
Right, I'm not doing that. She can get it too. And what I mean by they can get it, they can get this verbal fade because enough is enough. And I want to move on. I want to talk about, is there still a code within the sisterhood?
As far as what?
What code?
I think there should be.
I think it should be, but I'm trying to figure out which one you want to know if it's right. Let me get my imaginary.
I want to talk about stop code switching.
Listen, let me tell you something. From here to a lot of places,
every time
in America, I got friends in high places, and I tell them, I'm just a North Side girl. I'm just a North Side girl. So you're gonna get this North Side dialect. Now I will enunciate because I wanted to be clear what I said, and my mother taught me how to get my words out, and I tend to do very well in English, but I'm not changing my voice for anybody. I'm just a Black girl from the North Side who happened to be a little smart, got a couple degrees behind me, got $2 or $3 in the bank. That's all I can do. I can't change my voice. I'm not able to. Mentally, I'm not able to do that. You're going to take me as I am, and on a good day, if I feel, if God is good, I might write a grant for you, and we going to go ahead and get it approved. Now, take me as I am, or leave me where I'm at. But I'm not.
That's where I am.
Take me as I am.
That's why I am with America. And let me say, since we're talking Black women in America, I am so sick and tired of America telling us what to do with our bodies. Like, let me be the first to say this. They want to tell us not to do this, not to do that, but ain't nobody saying nothing to the men. Why is that? Why nobody is saying to the men, get vasectomies?
We talked about that earlier, like male birth control. We talked about this. Why is it that we're the ones that have to take the birth control? What are the scientists doing at work all day?
Because when I hear them telling us what to do with our bodies, that's a problem for me. And let me say this, as a believer, because I have a hard time saying Christian since everybody think number 45 won. She ain't never. She won. Y'all think she won. Might as well call me a sinner. Because if that's what Christianity is like, I don't know part of it, right? But as a believer, I believe that God gives us all the freedom of choice. What somebody decides to do with their body is none of my business.
The only time I care about it is if it's human trafficking, and most of the time the men are silent on that, and that's when we should care. Now, I want to give a shout out to Genesee County law enforcement who care about human trafficking, but when we're talking in the grand scheme of things, men don't seem to care when women's bodies are violated, but any other time they know they got all the answers.
But that's a problem for me because when we talk about women being violated sexually, or we talk about birth control or abortions, I can't speak for the little 12-year-old girl who's been trafficked across the world and who has gotten pregnant by her pimp and trafficker and decided that she doesn't want to keep his baby. Mm-hmm. To me, that's a personal decision. Mm-hmm. And that's something her and God needs to work out. And so I'm real careful about what I put my mouth on. Mm-hmm. Because I understand that some people, situations are different. And everybody has a right to their choice, mm-hmm. whether I agree with it or not. I got girlfriends that are lesbians. Tyra Hill like men. Now, what my girlfriends do, that's them. I got old boys who like men. Tyra Hill minds her business and she just loves. And so for me, I think when we talk about America and we talk about the Black women and we talk about birth control and or abortions, and everybody wants to make it seem like it's only Black women that has abortions, that's a problem for me. Because Black women ain't having abortions like that.
I think on that one, I don't care if it's Black women, Asian women, Indian women. If you don't believe in abortion, don't have one. But keep your mouth off of her, because that's her business, her body, and honestly, it's her money. Because ain't that many insurance companies paying for it.
Mm-hmm. But it's an issue, and let me tell you why. It only became an issue when they felt like, and when I say they, I mean America, felt like they were becoming the minorities. See, it wasn't an issue back in the day. But now that Caucasians feel like they're going to become the new minority, it's an issue. And for me, that's a problem. Because whatever a woman decides to do with her body, that's her body. And since we're talking about America and Black women and birth control and them not telling men what to do, Let's talk about Black women in America and health. Black women die more than white women giving birth. Black women die more from breast cancer than white women. Black women die more from heart disease than white women. And so when we look at the disparities within the communities, and one of the disparities being around health, we just saw it with COVID. Oh, you don't have symptoms. Your symptoms aren't worse enough. How many people did they push away that died? How many Black women have died giving birth to children?
But Tyra, this is the thing. Some women have abortions because they talked it over with their doctor. They know that they can't handle it. I don't feel like she need to do a 6-page essay on Facebook in order to go have her abortion. Whatever her reason is her reason.
Mm-hmm. But now, and that's true, Chia. But what I'm talking about
here, stop asking women when they gonna have kids. Some women can't.
Let's talk about that. Do y'all feel pressure? And I'm saying y'all to the sisters out there or the queens out there who have yet to get married, who have yet to have children. Do you feel pressure when your family say, so when you gonna get married? When you gonna have some kids?
No, because some women don't have childbearing capabilities. Stop asking people that. You don't know what type of emotions you invoking in them. And some women just happy not being married. Stop asking them that too.
But what does it matter? What does it matter? Just let people live their lives when it comes down to it.
Let people live their lives.
If I like red and you like blue, what is the difference? If I want to have kids and you don't, what does it matter? It doesn't.
Did you feel the pressure because you went into the Navy right after high school? Did you feel the pressure after you finished your naval career to have children? Because still to this day you don't have children.
No, and I don't feel the pressure. I feel like this. A guy gave me 10 beautiful guy kids, and I tell people all the time that got to count for at least 3 kids. And I've had a couple of them, live with us. So everybody has a different role in this world. I've never felt like, oh my God, I'm less than a woman because I don't have kids. I never felt like that, so it's just a preference. And at this point, Lord, I'm praying, please. It's just I don't feel that pressure. I never felt that pressure because I felt like it's my choice.
We see it, and it is your choice, but we see it so much. When you gonna have some babies? When you and that man gonna get married?
Some kids, girl.
When we're gonna watch them? Because that's
when you're gonna pay for them. Who's gonna pay for them?
Yeah, so for the ladies that's feeling that pressure, here go some questions to ask them back because I have 2. What days are you watching?
Tell them when they give you a $20,000 down payment.
You want to pay this tuition? I'm putting both of my kids' tuition is the price of a mortgage. You want to help me out there? That's when I'll have. You want me to get married? Pay for the what?
I'm just
and these kids want to go to Disney World too, so we gonna need that vacation money too.
I've always moved to the beat of my drum. Ladies, we only got 7 minutes left of this conversation. Have y'all enjoyed the conversation?
Yes, I have. I wanted to hear from Kayla, though. I did want to hear from you about the experience in the real estate world as a Black woman. I've really been wanting to hear that.
Go ahead, Kayla.
I can honestly say this year has made my 20th year in real estate.
Congratulations.
And in the midst of COVID, I've been given the opportunity to form a team of agents. So I have had some real blessing in the midst of COVID, but I tell my agents that I've had the opportunity to train, and I tell them I want them to get what I didn't get when I first started out. When I first started out, I was 22, the only Black girl in my office. I was a young Black girl, real urban with my diesel shoes on, and real urban, you know. So, and I'm in the office with a bunch of 50, 60, 70-year-olds, you know, and I personally feel, and it could be because I was doing it part-time, I was in the Navy at the time, but I personally feel, you know, I didn't have that mentorship like I'm trying to give now to the agents. So I feel like that put me probably about 7, 8 years behind because I was trying to figure it out and I didn't even know my way around town. That's how I knew it was. I had a map book from 7-Eleven that I was writing directions down on, telling my clients, if you know a shorter way, let me know, you know. So, and it's been an experience. It has. I went through the not feeling like, you know, feeling like I had to go buy me a new car because I had to look, you know, as a real estate agent, and I had to wear certain things, but I would look at other agents, not black agents, but you know, I would be like, well, why could they wear shorts on the appointment? Why do I feel like I got to put the heels on and you know? But as time went on, I found my I guess you could say niche in a sense.
Let me ask you this, Kayla, because Shalise wanted to know about you being a black woman in real estate. Let's tie that in with being a black woman in the Navy. What was that experience? You only got like a minute and 10 seconds.
Okay. Same thing. What I did in the Navy, I was a gas turbine mechanic. So I worked on plane engines. So it was a predominantly men driven job, you know. And when I went in, I basically they filled two shoes. They had just opened it up to women, really, because it was a male dominated field.
So you like one of the first women to be a part of.
I wasn't one of the first, but I was part of that group, that new group of the women that was allowed to do that.
That's dope though.
So it was so it was sort of, I can say it was actually a good experience. But and what helped me is my mom is a carpenter, so she know tools, she, you know, so I've seen my aunts and things like that do hands-on labor work, so it wasn't
black women
to me.
Black women,
yes ma'am,
black women.
So
that's dope.
Yeah, and I never thought about it like that, but I guess it is. But
we wear so many hats. We have so many roles as black women. Black women are now truckers. They not only are they driving trucks, they own their own trucks. Black women are
presidents of the United States.
Yes. I mean, like, seriously, black women. But before we close out, y'all, because we only got a couple of minutes, I want to ask this question. It's a two-part question. And so we're probably going to run over maybe a couple of minutes. When it comes to black women and injustice in America, do you feel like we're seeing more women that's experiencing the injustice? We had Sandra Bland. We had Breonna Taylor. The young lady from Baltimore, Corinne. Help me out, Shalise. What's her last name?
I don't know her last name, but I know exactly.
So
with the little baby boy.
Yes, it's so many women that are becoming a part of the injustice within America. So the next part of the question is, or that part was a statement. The question is, are we really protected? When I think about us and being protected, and I don't want to take away from the kings who protect the queens, who are upstanding kings, who love us, who honor us, who respect us. I want to talk about the protection of black women as a whole. Are we really protected? When I think about what Megan is going through with Tory Lanez, the allegedly him shooting her. My ex-husband pulled a gun out on me and tried to shoot me in my back and it jammed. So as a black woman, I've had some situations where I've not felt protected. I've had to fight some Negroes and other men were standing there. Shalise, do you feel like we're protected?
That's a tough, it's definitely a tough question. I want to say yes in respects to those men who are doing their job, doing the best that they can. But just to bring the whole question in regards to injustice, Black women, we are affected no matter what, whether it's us. We are the mothers, the daughters, the sisters, the aunts, the godmothers to everything that's happening. So whether it's me, it was my son, it was my brother, it was my father. So we're dealing with this on a grand scale. So that's a really tough question for me to answer, because I want to respect those who are doing their job, but I know that we are fighting a really different.
Let's take that off. Let's take them up out of the equation.
Okay.
Let me give my disclaimer. Kings, we know it's some of you out there who take your jobs of protecting us serious. We honor you. We love you. Thank you for respecting us. We're talking about the ones who don't. So let's clear that up. I'm talking about.
With that being in general, no, because that outweighs the other one. Mm-hmm. So no, I don't feel that Black women are protected, but I also, for me, don't know where to begin in that solution, again, because I'm a solutions person. So I guess I would want to hear insight from, if we're not protected, how do we address that in our community? How do we address that with our people to say, Black women, we don't feel protected, and having that be the thing, like, we don't feel protected. I don't have to write a 6-page essay on why I don't feel protected. I just don't. And what can we do? What do we need to do about this?
Go ahead, Kayla.
I was going to say, as women, I think we should speak up for each other more. Mm-hmm. And at the same time, we need to be able to not take offense if I'm speaking up for you. It doesn't mean that you just have to.
How do we speak up for the queen who doesn't feel like she's being abused, not just physically, mentally, emotionally, and verbally? And as soon as you speak up for her, and I'm not saying this is all cases, but I've experienced it, they run right back to the man who's whipping their ass, who's cutting them down with their words.
But it's not
I'm a victim advocate. And I think we need to take into account that some women, they fear the unknown. So they may know if I leave, I don't know what he's gonna do. But I know if I'm at home at 7:45, he gonna come in drunk off Jim Beam, X, Y, and Z gonna happen. He'll be passed out by 10 o'clock, and I got 5 or 6 hours of it. And so we need to go back to that place where you gotta be an ally, but not always insert your opinion. That's like, what can you do if you're not able to tell her, I kept the first month's rent and security deposit? Don't down her because she went back, because he might be her only financial aspect. He might be her only babysitter for them kids, for her to save the money to get out. It's a whole lot of different reasons. But also, we have to call out our brothers. Mm-hmm. We have to call out our daddies, mm-hmm. our best friends. When you see them it started with seeing them being deadbeat daddies. And then it was like, well, that's not my business. No, you want to tell women what to do with their body. Go tell your homeboy to go get his kid and give her. That's when it's time to speak up. And we like to shield the men in our lives, but we can't shield them if they're not shielding our sisters.
Absolutely. Ladies, I hate to end this conversation, but the kings are waiting. And hold on, we're going to add the kings real quick to the conversation. Hold on, right before I boot y'all out. Hold on. We got a couple of kings. Oh my goodness, hello. Fellas, have y'all been listening to the conversation?
Yes, we have.
Okay, so we're gonna piggyback off of. Oh my gosh, my door is open. We're gonna piggyback we're gonna start your conversation off with the question about is the Black woman protecting?
Now, would you like me to go first?
Queens, I love you. Thank you. Hold on, we gotta tell the queens bye. Or y'all want the queens to stay on?
They can stay.
They should.
Ladies first, always.
Derek, unmute your mic, Derek.
It's not. You hear me?
Queens, do y'all got time to stay on?
I gotta go. Y'all see me giving that mama. I gotta go get my baby dinner, Tyra.
Love you, Chia. Thank you.
I love nice you, ladies.
Love you, love you, love you. No, but all honesty, I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to let the kings have their conversation alone because the queens had their conversation alone. And so, queens, thank you. I love you.
Thank you.
I appreciate
Thank you.
Be sure to connect with these queens on social media. Shalise, let them know where they can find you at.
I'm on everything at Shalise Williams, Instagram, Facebook. My business is Treehouse Project Inc. You can also look us up on all socials.
Kayla, let them know where they can connect with you at.
On Instagram, I'm the Pope Team VA. And then on Facebook, the Pope Team at Prodigy Realty or just Vakayla Pope.
I love you, ladies. And Corn Gaines, rest in peace, Corn Gaines. That was her name. Thank you, Angelique J on YouTube. Appreciate you, Queen. Bye, Queens. Thanks for chopping it up with me on my season finale. Good night. Good night.
Night.
Good night, Kayla.
Good night.
Kings.
Tyra, can you hear me?
Hello.
What's up, Kings?
Cannot hear me.
I can hear you now, Derek Marcano.
Thank you.
I can hear you, Derek Marcano.
All right. That's all I need.
How is everybody?
Y'all good?
Y'all ready to have this conversation? I don't know.
Yes,
I might want to be with the fellas tonight. Guys.
Hey, Tyra, you always keep me straight. You might as well jump in. You always keep me straight anyway.
No, listen. Tonight's conversation with the queens was off the chain. I am grateful for that conversation. I am grateful to have this conversation with the kings. I appreciate you all. And I love you all, kings. I want to introduce my king segment on tonight. We just got through talking about the Black woman in America. Now we're going to be talking about the Black man in America. And joining me for this dope conversation tonight is none other. He started off as the fitness guru and fitness trainer of the Tyra Hill Show. He is my brother. He is my friend. He goes by the name of Weldon Thomas Anderson. He is also a union crane operator. Yes, that's Weldon Thomas Anderson. He's also a crane operator, and he has 2 children, 15 and 12. Thomas says over his 17-year journey into health and wellness, he's learned to focus on disease prevention. So, queens and kings, welcome my brother, welcome my friend, Weldon Thomas Anderson. Hey, Thomas.
Hello, how are y'all doing today?
Good. Let me introduce your next.
Oh, yes. Wait. Weldon is my rich name. I'm getting there, so I don't go by that just yet.
Weldon is his name, y'all.
Well, that's right. Put it in the air. Put it in the air.
Right. Right. The next guest, co-host for tonight, you've seen him on my show before. I absolutely love him. Dr. Damon Hope, my brother, my friend, currently works for Metropolitan State University of Denver Western Educational Equity Assistance Center, also known as WEEAC. He is also a trauma expert for Tucson Unified School Districts. Dr. Hope is a certified traumatologist through PESI and a certified mental health care specialist. Dr. Hope is the host of Higher Ground Show with Dr. Hope podcast, and the show discusses trauma, mental health, and social justice. Welcome, my brother, my friend, King, Dr. Devon Hope. What's good, Dr. Hope?
What up, though?
Welcome back.
Yeah, man. Let's get it.
Let me introduce
at all.
Co-host for tonight. He may not need any introduction. Derek Marcano, my brother, my friend, has started off in the media industry as my co-host on my radio show. Derek sat with me on last season of the Queen's Wind Down, and we talked about different things. He is from Trinidad. He is a retired professional soccer player. He is a father, and he is also works in the psych rehabilitation and mental health community. I appreciate you, Kings. I love you. Welcome, Derek Marcano. Welcome, Dr. Damon Hope. And welcome, W. Thomas Anderson. Kings.
Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Y'all ready to have this conversation?
We are.
Yes, ma'am.
We've been listening.
Have you guys been listening? What have you thought about? What did you think about the show?
I thought it was really dope. I thought it was dope.
Yeah, the ladies actually brought a real world perspective to what they see every day, you know, and it was nice to get an uncut version of what they go through, you know, and their perspectives.
So let's talk about it. Let's jump this conversation off with the conversation that ended the Queen's conversation. Do you feel that Black women are protected? Oh, before you answer that, let me say this. Tonight is your conversation. I am going to fall back a little bit. I'm used to being in control, right? Janet Jackson, Miss Jackson, if you nasty. But I'm going to fall back and let the men have conversations and I'm going to still be a little bit part of the conversation just to control it, right? But I want you, Kings, to have this conversation and this floor because I think a lot of times women get in y'all business a little bit too much when it's time to discuss men. I'm going to be a little bit part of the conversation. So you will see me shutting off my camera from time to time because I want you all to have this moment. Is that cool?
Yeah, that's cool.
Okay, let's start off the conversation. And I'm going to ask you first, Dr. Damon Holtz in Arizona.
Sure.
Do you feel that Black women are protected in America?
No, not at the level that it should. It's always been very condescending, secondhand, and it's nothing new. This goes back 400 years of history of how we have treated African descendants, our beautiful Nubian queens. And the funny thing is that there's this systemic historical strategy to devalue them. But if you also know people from Eurocentric backgrounds and white races try to duplicate the nature and power of the Black woman. Why do you think you see so much plastic surgery right now? White affluent white plastic surgeons are making a lot of money by creating curvaceousness of the Nubian queen. So we've seen many times that we've tried to devalue them, but also steal and rob their Black essence. But you know, the world and society can try to duplicate it, but you know, we're the originators, and so. No, to answer your question, and I'm just using examples of how far it goes deep, is that no, we don't do enough to protect our Black women. A lot of us say, well, you know, that's not our business, and I want to stay out of it, right? But would you tell that man that's dating your daughter that? You know, would you tell that gentleman that's in a relationship with your niece that? So, you know. I think that's where I'll leave it and let my brothers come in.
Well, because Derek, you have two daughters.
I do.
One is grown and one is a little toddler.
Yes, ma'am.
Do you feel that Black women are protected?
I do not. I believe not only are they not protected, but they're targeted in a way.
You have sisters too, two sisters.
Two sisters. Yeah.
Well, three, including me. Well, go ahead.
3 including you, absolutely, as my mother would say. But I think Black women are targeted not only by weak Black men, but they're targeted by society. I think they're targeted in a way that's subliminal. I think they know that to break down the African American family, you have to target the black woman, the matriarch of the family, and I think they target the woman by allowing different things to happen to them, as well as encouraging them that it's okay to break up the black family, that it's okay to distance a father from his children, or things of that nature. I think the system is geared towards that narrative, and there's of course, we hear the stories of men that can't see their children, and I think that's a systemic thing. I think it's a systemic thing, and where the system is pushing that narrative for the black woman. That's just my personal opinion.
Thomas, go ahead and chime in, King.
Okay, I do not feel as a whole that black women are protected. And I mean, if you look at the current state, black men can't protect themselves. So how, you know what I mean? So how are they going to protect black women in society? Okay, you know what I mean?
That's good.
When you look at, as far as the current trends or whatever, I mean, you see black men encouraging the violence against black women. So I think it comes from those weak-minded men and us not having any cohesiveness, that they are not protected. I mean, like I said, they encourage it.
Well, give us an example.
Okay,
by what you mean by they.
Well, like if you look on social media, right, you will see black women fighting each other. You will see black men fighting black women, and you will see everybody else standing around with their cell phones out.
Absolutely true.
Instead of breaking, like I tell my son, you are a protector. He knows this from day one, and we don't have enough people telling their sons that you are a protector. So we don't have enough men that feel that they are protectors to say, hey, break that up. Hey, y'all stop this. Hey, stop that. Get in the middle of it. Everybody, like you said, like someone said, that ain't my business. That ain't my business. Why is it not your business for your sisters, to be treated this way?
Dr. Holt.
Yes.
When we talk about the black man in America, what are your thoughts?
The black man in America? We are one of the most threatening species on the planet, and it has been historically that way. And the darker our skin, the more white people and white society and Eurocentric views try to weaponize how darker our skin. This is not just black men. We're talking about black boys. This is a youth issue that a lot of our young men are being exposed to racism and bias. And I was alluding to on another platform. Yes, we do have police brutality, and unfortunately, we got too many black men dying, unarmed black men and women dying at the hands of law enforcement. But our big issue, what exposures to racism, or systemic and institutional racism, come from educational systems. And since we've been young, we've been feared. We have been looked at to be aggressive. Some try to play us to be ignorant. And then there's this bias of black men that, well, because we're black and we're athletic and we got the fitness guru on there. But when people see that type of body, they're like, oh yeah, that person can automatically dominate sports. So there's all kind of different biases of what people think of us. But as black men, we have to step up our game. And a lot of that is also doing self-care, self-identity far as us, because black men have been traumatized deeply in this country, and we struggle. Then there's a false narrative and the distortion of masculinity, right? And that's a whole nother.
Let's talk about that. Put a pin right there, Dr. Holt. Because you know how I feel when y'all be dropping them nuggets. Put a pin there, Dr. D.
Yeah, so there's a big distortion about masculinity, and what has happened is, and now we're talking not just the mental and emotional of black men, but the spiritual, the deep part of the soul of black men. When we come to masculinity, it has been distorted to the point to where we can't show emotions, we can't cry, we can't just be vulnerable with our wife or our spouse or our significant other and just share out that pain. And so the distortion of masculinity is I hold it all in, I hold all that bitterness in, all that anger in, and I channel and I express all of that anger out on the one that's there to support me and love me. And a lot of times that's the Black woman. And so, you know, even looking at when we talk about Black men, Black masculinity, what does it look like, you know, and can I be vulnerable and transparent for a moment and let my helpmate or my spouse or my significant other help me through some stuff? Because you heard me say all the time when we talk about trauma, if trauma may not be your fault, but it's your responsibility to heal from it. And if you don't heal from it, you will, not might, not could, not should, you will bleed on people that didn't cut you.
Dr. Hall. That's good. Like, this conversation is off the chain. Ladies and gentlemen, Derek Marcano will be joining us. His computer died, and he'll be coming back in. So don't go nowhere if you tuned in to support Derek. He's coming back on. Thomas, let's go ahead. Go ahead and pick it back on. I'm tagging you in.
Black men in America, vilified and devalued.
Yeah.
We have gotten to the point, the Black men in America have gotten to the point where we are really, they're trying to exclude us in every part of life, whether it be the workplace, whether the workplace, the family, everywhere.
Family dynamic.
The whole family dynamic. They're trying to exclude us in everything. Some people that don't walk that walk might not understand what we're talking about. You know, we look at like what they say, the welfare system, how the Black man was not allowed to be in a Black home. That's right. The welfare, you know, during the, you know, for the welfare system.
Hold on. They might not know that back in the day, when the caseworker came to visit your house or your mama's house, if your mama had a man, Mr. Pete had to be gone before the caseworker showed up. And hold on. You better not have a toaster, a TV, an iron board, because if you had those things, they felt like you didn't need the assistance that they were given. Go ahead. I'm just giving them education on how we grew up.
Yeah, but that's what I'm saying. A lot of people don't know that. And they'll just think that, oh, the man just ain't doing what he's supposed to do. You know, if a woman takes if a woman replaces that man as the father with the government, then he's excluded. You know,
that's good. I didn't think about that, Thomas. Let me stop right there. I never thought about how the man wasn't allowed to be in the house when the caseworkers came, and how that mentality, it was always the woman and the kids. I never thought about that.
So now if he falls on hard times, he cannot benefit from those same benefits that she's benefiting from. You know what I mean? He's not allowed to be around, you know? So if you, I mean, look at the current state of in the workplace. You know, there's so many grants out there. I had this book of free money that they don't want you to know about. Yeah. And in that book, like 85-90% of the things was in there was for women, grants and things like that. There was hardly anything for men, right? The reason I got my job is because I'm Black. You know, there was a guy that worked for the Springfield Urban League. He went around to make sure they have enough minorities on jobs, and then they had a construction company that was about to get in trouble with the government. So basically, what I'm saying is, he got me in, and I did my thing. I graduated at the top of my class. But what I'm saying is, a lot of people don't have those connections. So if you don't have those as a Black man, if you don't have those connections, and you don't have anything out, you don't have any kind of government help out there for you, then you're excluded. You're viewed as lazy, you know, and ambitious. And what you do make, I mean, because I had 2 part-time jobs before that. What you do make ain't enough to make ends meet. So now you ain't a real man no more, because you can't take care of the bills.
Exactly.
You know, like you said, as far as a Black man in America, as far as the justice system, you know how it go.
We already know.
You know how it go. We are vilified to the point of no end. You know, I posted it on my page. Harvard did a study to find out why so many black men were in jail, and the only thing they could come up with was racism. They looked at their white and their black counterparts, and we served, was it 15 to 25% more time for the same crimes with the same background.
Yeah, yeah,
yeah. So, with that said, we are the true leaders of the family. We are the true leaders of our society. You cut off the head, and the rest will follow.
Well, let me tag Derek into this conversation, and we're going to start off this. This conversation is good. I need for everybody to share this conversation because this has been a dope-ass conversation. And Dr. Reverend Holt, I'm sorry. I said I was going to do better and not be cussing when I have you on the show no more. But you know your sister, honey.
Yes.
you already know.
Yeah.
Listen, Derek, I want to chime you in. I love you too, bruh. And ask you, what are you thinking about the election and Joe Biden being the president? Let's talk about it.
I think the biggest issue African Americans had with Joe Biden was they listened to the narrative as he was a career politician and has done nothing in his past. Number one, do your research. That's number one. Number two, I believe the heart of a man changes when he's around someone else that can give him a true look at the struggle. So I think him being around Barack 8 years, regardless of what he did prior to that time, I think him being around a man of that character for 8 years and his family and watching his kids grow changes a man. So, for example, my father, my mother and father, we're from Trinidad. My father came here in the late 60s and the story is when you talk to my parents, they never felt racism because white people treated them differently because of their accent. And my father has white friends that actually saw us grow and actually cared about us and looked at us in from a different perspective, almost like their children. So they got a different perspective of African American children and the struggles because Tyra, me as a young black man, I went through my struggles too. So
I was going to say because you went to a part of the branch of the military.
Yeah, I was in the Marines.
And you have a lot of white friends because you're a professional retired soccer player.
Absolutely.
And you have a lot of Caucasian friends.
And I lost a lot of Caucasian friends.
I was going to ask you that. How has that been for you?
It has been a struggle because true character showed off. That's the one thing I will say about this, the Trump administration. People really came out and showed their true colors, their true character. You got to see some people that maybe you worked with or that you can't, that I played with or that you knew that you never knew they felt that way. But now they felt empowered to come out and show how they really felt about immigration and people of color and police brutality, especially police brutality. I definitely feel for police officers, all of them, white, black, or indifferent. It's a tough job. Does that make what they do, what occurs to African American men on a daily basis? I mean, we just get to see it more now because of cameras, but this has been going on
for years,
for decades,
centuries, decades. Well, let me ask you this, because when we hear, you will see things on social media that says you shouldn't fall out. People have the right to have their opinions and vote for who they want to vote for. But let me be clear when I say why it's been a problem for me. And I can only speak for me. And I'm going to let y'all chime in and talk amongst the kings. I've walked away from relationships with both black and white people.
True.
Who have supported Trump. Because consciously, I can't see myself being connected to someone who supports hate, right? Racism, bigotry, lies, fraud, rape, all
prior
of it, right?
Prior to his inauguration. Everything you're saying he did prior to getting to office.
Right, but hold on, let me say this. When I'm asked, well, you just gonna fall out with them because they support Trump? Fuck yeah. And here's the reason why. We're not disputing what goes on a pizza. We're not disputing what it is what shoe I should wear. We're not disputing about some ratchet TV show. We're disputing morality. We're disputing right from wrong.
Yes, absolutely. And I fell out with African Americans who decided not to support the system, to not vote. Well, simply because they say that they can't choose. Both of them are bad. Like, what? So people died for that right.
55% of white women voted for Donald Trump, and 18% of black men for Donald Trump. Let's talk about that.
I need that list. I'm knocking on doors. I want answers, because I don't understand how you go. I mean, are the 18% above that top level of the socioeconomic scale? Like, why? What would be your reasoning?
I know people that live in the hood, black men that live in the hood that voted for Donald J. Trump. And then, of course, we know the celebrities that supported him or endorsed him. But the mere fact that black men voted for someone who has literally been behind the injustice and the tiki torches and the Proud Boys and the white supremacy, that's crazy to me. Dr. Hope, can you chime in and help me to understand how that's even possible? And you chime in, let me say this, because it's a problem for me that I just got on my mother, who retired from Michigan and who moved to Louisiana. And this is what I told her. I don't know why black folk moved back to the South, and you know Jim Crow is alive and well down there, and they ain't got a problem with lynching y'all black asses. So help me to understand, Dr. Hope, why it is that not just black men, but black women supported and voted for Trump. Help me.
Yeah, so, and we talked about racism. I just did a racial trauma on a huge platform on just
why
a few.
You didn't tag me?
I'm sorry, I thought I did.
No, you didn't tag me.
And I went in on the depths of racism, right? Because a lot of times we scratch the surface, we get weird, we get spooky, and we just don't want to go there. But no, I went there. I said, well, if they don't invite me back, at least I got them while I had them.
That's right.
But I really went in on all the different facets of racism. And the big one is, you know, we look at it and say it's racism, but we really need to look at three parts of racism. One is structural, one is institutional, and interpersonal and internalization racism. So you asked the question about why would a black person salute and vote for a flat out bona fide certified racist? And that is what we would call internalized racism. And internalized racism in the mindset is that they take in and believe the stereotypes of how white people view black people. Even if it's derogatory, they accept that type of mindset. And that's racism internalized. That is a big issue. And that is a strategy that Massa did to dividing outside slaves with in-house slaves. Absolutely. And then we have this other thing called colorism. So the lighter and fairer your skin, you are viewed as being more beautiful. You got more preferred jobs. You work on the inside of the house. You probably even nurse the white master's wife's children. All of these things to get in the mindset that you are better than other black people. You better believe those type of people that vote for President Trump think that they are better than a different classification of African Americans. That is a fact. Number two, one thing you want to consider that I thought about, even though Joe Biden won, because they said this is a paramount election that more Americans have voted like never before, and that's including a lot of white people. My concern was if this is true, and the election was razor thin in many of the states, which it was, you know what that tell me? That tell me not only is there a huge portion of white people that voted for President Trump, but also a whole lot of white people, they said that Black Lives Matter voted for President Trump, which means that people got alongside, white people got alongside and said they wanted to be allies, but deep down they were Secret Service agents pushing the racism agenda. Because there's no way you can have a razor thin election and that many people. That means a lot of people that said that they understand what Black people go through still voted for those same.
Let me go to a viewer, because a viewer left a comment on YouTube. Carla _ my love said, let's not knock the people who chose to exercise their right to vote for who they thought was a better candidate. We would never do that. America is a democracy. But just like they had a right to vote, I got a right to say why you vote for him.
You have a right to vote, but sometimes what you vote for is flat out stupid.
Well, and I want to get to the root of that, because people had a problem with Biden because of the 1994 crime bill. Let's talk about that crime bill. At that
Hold
on.
Let me ask Black people something. What was wrong with Biden when he ran with Obama?
Well, he was Uncle Joe then. I don't know what happened.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Why is he all of a sudden under the microscope now, and it's all the scare tactics now? But when he was with Obama, everything was good. He went under a microscope. He went doom and gloom. Mike Pence, doom and gloom, because he come from Indiana, a right to work state.
Well, here's the thing. When you think about Joe Biden and the 1994 crime bill, and I'm just going to talk about Tyra here. 1994, I was selling more cocaine than Peru. Okay. 1994, there was a crack pandemic. In 1994, our neighborhoods was getting shot up, drive-by shootings, kids hungry on the street, parents overdosing on crack cocaine. The crime was bananas.
Yep.
In every urban neighborhood. I don't care if it was Baltimore, Flint, Detroit, Philly, Arizona, North Carolina, South Carolina, Mississippi, Alabama, Chicago. It was lit. Crack was a serious pandemic.
It was.
So what happened was, let me educate. The community, meaning your pastors, your city council, your churches, got together and said, it's a problem. It's drive-by shootings in the middle of day, broad daylight. People are overdosing. There are gang turf wars because people out here set tripping. We need something. So what did they do? They put in place a crime bill. Now, was it the best crime bill? Absolutely not. Did it imprison a lot of our kings and queens too? Because I had a couple of homegirls that had babies in federal. Absolutely. It penetrated and it penalized our community. However, let's not act like our communities wasn't in a freaking uproar and on its way to demise and destruction. Let's not act like, and I was a part of the problem, so I'm going to own my shit. Y'all ain't got to own y'all. Yeah. But let's not act like we were in a position to police our own communities. Because we weren't.
And we did.
And we didn't.
And we didn't. That's the bottom line. We didn't.
And we didn't.
No snitching lives in Baltimore.
Right.
Exactly. Yeah. So that's the problem. We don't police ourselves. So y'all just want the crime to go on, and until it touches your life, then that's when the problem occurs. That's the whole thing. We don't police ourselves. We don't want to help our own self.
Anyway, because you can't make money when your hood hot. Let's talk about that. Like, I think people don't realize the destruction and demise that we as Black people have brought within our own communities. And
well, the thing is, the reason why we don't know that is because Black people as a whole, we don't like to hear about ourselves. Okay, you think about when Obama was trying to tell the black people what they need to do. There was up in arms. Bill Cosby, y'all need to start reading books. Y'all need to start reading and going to college. They didn't like that. Chris Rock, when he started talking,
Dr. Sebi.
Dr. Sebi, they didn't like that. Chris Rock, when he did I hate it, I love Black people, but I hate niggas. They tried to cancel him. Whenever anybody questions us and puts out there what we should be doing, then they try to cancel it. They don't want to hear about it, So with this crime bill, because they tried to hold us accountable for our bullshit. They tried to. That's why. That's the reason why he's vilified.
But here's the thing: people say, "Well, I have Bernie Sanders," and we're not going to stay on this long. We've got a lot of other topics. But Bernie Sanders was a senator in 1994, and he voted for the crime bill too. So when we talk about Madam Vice President Kamala Harris, and we say she locked up black men, like I said, I used to be a criminal, a full-fledged one. I'm going to say she did her job. And if you can't do the time, then you shouldn't do the crime. And that's what I'm talking about right there. But we don't want to talk about the other programs that she implemented for first-time offenders and everything else that she did behind the scenes. We just want to keep talking about the 1994 crime bill. Like right now, Baltimore has over 270 some murders.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Kids are getting shot, murdered
pandemic
in the middle of the day, pregnant women, children. And we want to talk about crime bills? Let me say this to you Negroes, and let me be extremely clear. We wouldn't have to depend on Senate or legislation to get us together if we would stop letting our family and friends do dumb shit. You know Lil Pookie on the corner pushing that work, but you ain't got shit to say about it. But as soon as Lil Pookie ass get locked up, it's a problem.
Right.
Oh, what's the saying? Don't knock the hustle.
And then I'm so sick of the snitching mentality. Let me tell y'all another thing about snitching. And I know I said I wasn't going to talk, and I'm about to actually turn down my mic and give y'all a mic, and I'm about to turn on my camera. But let me tell y'all what snitching is. Snitching is me, Thomas, Dr. Ho, and Derek. We riding in my whip, right? I tell Derek I'm about to hit a lick. Derek like, okay, I'm going to hit the lick with you. Dr. Ho like, okay, I'm going to drive the car. Thomas like, I got you. Whatever you do, I'm going to make the move too. We all hit this lick, right? I get caught. And then I tell on the three kings that was with me. That's snitching. Snitching is not me doing my civil duty and calling the police to let them know that crime is happening within my community. See, you're not going to stand in front of my crib and sell your dope in front of my house.
That's right.
It's just certain shit that you can't do. So if we don't want the Senate, the legislators, the racist people locking our black asses up, then we need to straighten up and be held accountable for what it is that we let our children do, our family and our friends do. Because if you sell dope, you ain't coming up in my crib.
That's right.
Ain't nobody running up in my shit following you. It's just certain ways that we have to hold each other accountable. Now, fellas, I'm going to let y'all have this conversation, but the next subjects or topics at hand: the black man and injustice, the black man and fatherhood, the black mass incarceration, the black man health, mental health, the black man and fatherhood. I really want y'all to talk about that. And the black man in corporate America. Who picking? Do I need to repeat it?
Yeah, where are we starting?
Which one?
Pick it.
Fatherhood. Bye.
All right. All right. You mean jump in on this one? Hey, my son is sitting right beside me right now.
I think you should start because I'm. This is what I'm gonna say. I watch you. I follow you on Facebook and your family, and you do a great job as a father, empowering your children. Not only empowering them, but giving them confidence that they're special. I watch you, and you do a great job with your son and daughter, letting them know that I need to do a better job. You're very proud of your children, and you show that pride in many different ways.
I appreciate it, man. I appreciate it. So I will say this: as a father, if there is no answer, you are the answer. There are some things about me that my son does not know yet, but I will teach him sooner or later. You know what I mean? Because I don't want him to make the same mistakes I did. I don't want him to I don't want him to be ill-equipped the way I was. As a father, you should always you should want to give your kids a jumping off point that's higher than where you started.
Absolutely.
You don't want them to make the same mistakes you did, and you know what I mean, and you'll figure it out.
Not to disturb you, but that is the principle. That is the principle of white privilege. So I'm gonna give you a head start, and that's where they get ahead of us. And that's where they don't understand. A lot of us, because of how they've broken down the family, they don't allow us to leave the things that we need through different things, and through us not doing a lot of times what we're supposed to do. They get that white privilege by getting that jump start. So my grandfather was an attorney. So my father was an attorney. So my son is an attorney. And they could be hard. They could be, like you said, you were top of your class. They could be bottom of their class, but they get the jump starts because they're leaving school, the bottom of the class, but they're going to a law firm that's already owned by their father. So
exactly, and so
paid for.
Exactly. See, that's what I tell him. He knows I do construction. But TJ, who did I tell you you're supposed to work for when you grow up?
Myself.
Himself. Okay? You're supposed to I teach him that I am doing this so you don't have to. I am teaching you this so you don't have to do what I did. I don't want you to work for yourself. Anywhere you go to work, if you're working for somebody, you're only there to learn. Whether you be a doctor like your mother or a construction worker like me, you will own your own company. You know what I mean? I think that as fathers, we have to once again hold each other accountable. As brothers, as brothers and fathers, we have to hold each other accountable. Hey, dude, where your kids at, man? You want to get your kids? I'm gonna go get my kids, man. Let's go do something, man. We need to start putting out that image, and that's the thing, though. It seems like that we are not the responsible fathers, the ones that are active. It seems like we're not celebrated enough or not recognized enough because we're so overshadowed, especially with social media. We're so overshadowed by women who do not have active children's fathers in their life. You know what I mean?
Absolutely.
And I think that's probably because as men, we don't put our feelings out there on social media like that. So you basically only get one narrative.
Yeah.
But anyway, like I said, my goal is to teach them to be better than me. That's where I stand.
Absolutely. So another thing I think that goes on is the narrative that you don't, if you don't put money into your child's life, you can't be a part of your child's life. A lot of men use that as an excuse, and women too, right? You can't see your child unless you give me some money. And what we need to understand as Black men is the most important thing is your presence. Finances are very important. Don't get me wrong. Very, very, very important, because you have to be there financially for your child or your children, but for your family, even be blended family. But given some of the circumstances, hard times, we have to understand as a culture and as men that your presence is just as valuable as your dollar. It's just as valuable, if not more valuable, because the lessons you teach your son are normally verbal. Your financial lesson is going to be what he sees. Like, he sees you as a construction worker. He sees your children might see you as a doctor that went through school, but what they see is your character and how you carry yourself and how you interact with people, right? And what people, children. I have an 18-year-old boy, and he's a basketball player, but I don't ever really tell him a lot of things that went on with me as a young man. Like you said, you want him to not make the same mistakes you make. But what he sees is how people approach me, and from what they say to him when I'm not around. Like, I know your dad; he's a good dude. Like, that means so much for you not to be there, and if somebody else walk up to your son, like, I know your father; he wouldn't want you to do that. Or, I know your dad; he's a good dude. How's he doing? That means so much. And your character, even if you're not there financially, your character means a lot. It not only when you're there, but when you're not there. So us as, like you said, us as Black men, we need to check on other Black men. Like, what are you doing with your kids? I had a friend of mine call me today and said he was having an issue with his son. His son would hang up the phone every time the wife's new boyfriend was around. He said, should I jack him up? I said, no. I said, because more than likely he doesn't want an argument between you and the man, or you and the mother. So he's feeling some kind of way. You got to look at it from his perspective. He might want you and the mother to get back together. Jacking him up is not going to solve that problem. You need to let him know that it's okay. Maybe all of y'all need to get together and let him know it's okay if you're having this issue. for him to talk to you when he's around, whatever it may be. But as adults, we need to understand that, you know, we have so many blended families in the African American communities, and that's not a bad thing. That's where we are. That's just where we are. But we took care of each other in the 60s, and we need to take care of each other now. We need to look out for each other's sons. Back in the day, even when people were hustling, if someone took a bit, they were like, okay, I'm gonna look out for your kids while you're down. Or I'm gonna make sure this person does it. Or a group would say, you know what, you don't follow behind your son's footsteps. But it's just different now. You know, we don't have that village to raise children anymore. The village is getting smaller and smaller and smaller, and putting more pressure on the Black woman.
I agree with that. I agree.
Yeah, that's some good stuff. I was just soaking it in and just listening, guys. It's awesome. I agree. Presence is, you know, provision and providing, that comes second. Presence is the huge thing. And the question is, can you be an absentee father while you're living in the house? Because a lot of times, sometimes we're not stepping up to the game far as providing emotionally. I think so many times we immediately go to the monetary, and don't get me wrong, you do need to do your due diligence, but that emotional support. So me growing as a man and as a father is stepping up. My kids are okay financially, but making sure that I connect more with my children on an emotional level, because you can emotionally be an absentee father even though you are physically in the house. And children grow up being angry, they be bitter, because we're so busy doing all these other things and we're not giving them that value. I'll tell you another thing that I was very proud of, is me to give my name to my son. I didn't do that because that's just what people do. There was a lot of thought. There was a lot of emotional connection, and generational trajectories that I wanted my son to have by me giving him my name. And so me giving him my name meant a lot to me. And I sat down and talked to him about, you know, why is his name his name? And I already have conversations with my son about my grandchildren. He'd be looking at me like, I'm 16 years old. No, this is generational. You know, I want you to know that. And both need fathers. Daughters need their daddies, and most definitely sons need their fathers. Both need them, because we also see how self-value, self-esteem, self-identity, even with our young Black daughters. So it's not just our sons. Our daughters most definitely need their fathers. They need the love from their fathers. Talking about daughters, this is the reason why we see a lot of risky behavior out in the streets, and their self-value, and why they try to get love in wrong places and they get taken advantage of, is because all of that distortion takes place when healthy love is not connected from the father and as well as the daughter. So it's on both ends, our sons and our daughters. We see also how our daughters is really impacted without healthy fatherly relationships. Even when they get into adulthood, their decision making on when they choose a lover first dating, or when they get into a serious relationship or get married, that plays a big part as well, as far as daughters having relationships with their father. He is the first role model. He should be that first positive role model of what love is, how they should be treated, how they should not be treated. So the father has a double duty. He's to be that first male role model as well to the daughter, as most definitely as showing the son how to be a man from a male's perspective.
Definitely. Tyra, where you at? We want to keep going on this one?
Can I just say that, first of all, I'm on Instagram live with you guys. This conversation is so dope. And I want to read a few of the comments from the viewers. Kasanya B said, your money doesn't tell me anything. It doesn't say that I love you. It doesn't say can do it. And it doesn't say, son, daughter, I'm here for you. So if you're just coming in Instagram, we're talking the Black men in America, and we're talking Black men and fatherhood. Aprila said, I salute you all. So this conversation, when we talk about being the father figures that people need, especially our sons and our daughters in this time and in this day. When I think of me and my father as a little girl, I always needed and wanted my father to tell me that I was beautiful, that I was worthy to be loved the correct way.
Yeah.
I needed my dad to teach me what it was that a man whom I gave myself to, not just my body, but my time, my energy, and my heart to. I needed my dad to show me what I should expect from said man, right? It was just some things that I didn't get growing up from my father that led me down the wrong path. And what I mean by that is, Betty Wright said you can't show your teeth to every guy you meet, right? And so because I was looking for love in all of the wrong places, the first Negro that told me I was beautiful, he became my zaddy. And so I think it's really, really important for fathers to not just be there for their daughters, but for their sons too. Because when the fathers are absent in their children's lives, not only does it leave a void, it leaves insecurities as well. It leaves identity crisis. It leads children into identity crisis as well. So for me, yeah, that's what I wanted to say. But that conversation was good. Let's jump to the next topic at hand: the black man in mass incarceration.
Ooh.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now I'm gonna time out again because I'm gonna let y'all have. I'm just gonna throw the topics out there. But I love the fact that y'all having real conversation amongst kings. See, where I come from, women didn't sit in men's faces when they talk. So I'm about to fall back out. So let's talk black men and mass incarceration.
Okay. I guess I'll go first. Mass incarceration is, in fact, the new Jim Crow. It is Jim Crow and innovation. Jim Crow on steroids. This is nothing new. We saw this way back in slavery when slaves would try to escape and get freedom. Most definitely try to get on the railroad, go up north and get freed as a slave so that even their children could be slaves. And we know masters would hire police mobs to go and find these slaves and would maim them, would torture them, sometimes would kill them, but most definitely bring them back into oppression. So we've always had this negative interaction dealing with the criminal justice system. Another issue is that when slaves were emancipated, we saw the history that once they were emancipated, the question was, what we're going to do with the economy? What we're going to do with all of this tobacco and cotton and all of these things that needed to be taken care of and be picked. And so they, after emancipation, municipalities and states would create petty laws to easily be able to arrest African Americans and descendants of slavery, to arrest them and put them into prison. And then the prisons will set the same contracts with some of the slave owners and make those same former slaves as criminals now do the same work. So mass incarceration is a strategy and it is a manifestation of institutional racism. Again, being called the N-word, yeah, I want to knock you out for disrespecting me. But what makes racism even deeper is the institutional and structural racism that is in place to constantly marginalize and disfranchise Black people. All to the point we've had to deal with Jim Crow, we have to deal with segregation, we have to deal with racial profiling, we have to deal with police brutality, we have to deal with police departments not even hiring Black police officers to even diversify the agency. So mass incarceration has constantly been something that African Americans are still dealing with to this day. With this country is overly representing Black and brown populations in the penal system. And another thing about mass incarceration is, in my opinion, I'll say two things and I'll let my brothers go. One, prisons are called departments of corrections. They are lying. They don't correct anything. It's a department of punishment. They do not educate. They don't educate. They don't rehabilitate. And so when we allow offenders to go back into re-entering the population, they don't have the skills. They don't have the expertise to bounce back. and get jobs and build their careers, which creates recidivism when they go right back into the prison. The second thing I would throw out is felonies is a life sentence. You don't have to murder someone to punish for the rest of your life. If you get a felony in this country, you will deal with that for the rest of your life. And it's designed that way. This system is not broken. It is designed on purpose to oppress and marginalize Black and brown communities.
And W, I'm gonna let you speak next. But on the third point on you, Doc, I'm gonna say this. Not only is it those first two, the third one is it's additional trauma. Because I know so many Black men that have went to jail and suffered even more mental trauma and came out worse than they went in. But something as minor as a repeated misdemeanor, like something like a loitering, and now they keep him. Of course he's out there doing his thing, but that's what they keep him on. Now he's there 90 days. He ends up having to join a gang, or he sees something that's traumatic, and now he has to feel like he has to protect himself in that lifestyle, and now that trauma starts a whole nother ball rolling.
Yes, it does.
So listen, I'm gonna say this lightly because that's something that I haven't talked to him about yet. Okay, I've been there. Okay, that life sentence that you talk about, I have it. Okay, I got to school him on that. I got to school my daughter's coming out of volleyball. I got to school her on that. Just so they can understand the pitfalls to look out for. But let me say this: if you go on YouTube and Google Dr. Claude Anderson, group economics, the video is probably only about maybe 2 minutes long, and you will understand the reason why Black people are massively incarcerated, if that's a word. They want, because mass incarceration is nothing more than big business.
That's right.
If you look at the phone systems generates I don't know how many billions of dollars. If you look at prisons, privatized prisons, if you see how much money they get to house an inmate over a year, and you multiply that by how many inmates they have, then you'll understand the type of money that we're dealing with. Okay. And what did Dr. Claude Anderson say? They are going to go after the people with the lowest economic base to incarcerate.
That's right.
The lowest economic base, which is us. I think was it Marcus Garvey that said the reason why they go after us is because we don't have a homeland to protect us. Africa, the Asians will have to deal. America will have to deal with China and Japan, Taiwan. If the same things happen to them. India, other places in Europe or whatever, America would have to deal with those homelands. But if you see who they mess with Black people, African Americans, because we have no homeland to protect us. They mess with the Hispanics, Mexico and places like that, because their homeland will not protect them. But when you talk, like I said, when you talk about mass incarceration, it's nothing more than big business. They want that felony because, like you said, that the felony almost guarantees. Now my son is gone. That's almost a guarantee that they will be a repeat offender if they get that felony, because actually that's what led to me doing construction, because I could not have my job back at Federal Express because all of a sudden after 4 years of experience, I no longer had the right qualifications.
Right.
But it was a blessing because I busted my ass and I ended up getting something way better, But like I said, at the heart of it, that felony stops you from succeed. It can stop you from succeeding, and they know percentage wise that's exactly what's going to happen. So that's why mass incarceration exists, because it's big business.
Yes, and I would like to throw in as well is mass incarceration. Not only is it big business, I totally agree with that, billions and billions of dollars that even private investors are making off the hands of private prisons, which is a whole other conversation. But it starts out on the front end on law enforcement. I was meeting with Tucson Tucson Police Department. I'm connected with them and a lot of criminal justice work. And it starts out on the front end. And so what we saw was in the data is we were trying to explain when police officers are patrolling, why is the police having more contact with African American and Latino Hispanic community than any other ethnic group? It was because of a lot of those quotas, right? If I got to get a quota, I gotta have a strategy on how can I hit quota every day when I clock in. Who's the easiest target that I can go and hit these quotas? Well, it's Black and brown and socially, economically challenging communities. And a lot of that is all intertwined together. And so that opens the door to mass incarceration by targeting social, economically challenging communities and people of color. Because a lot of officers see that is low-hanging fruit for me to get as far as traffic stops, tickets, all of that. You will see the numbers are always double and triple from the front end. But when we talk about justice, it's not just police brutality and racial profiling. We have to look at indictments. We have to look at we know police stuff. When there's a police officer shooting, especially with black people and brown people, police departments cannot investigate themselves, right? Because we know that the indictments is not going to go through because the prosecutor uses police officers to investigate their cases. So they have a bias. They struggle with investigating and indicting their own people in their own agencies. So when we talk about this, this is big. It is huge. You're right on the back end, on the prison side, on the front end with the police department, then the middle with the prosecutors. And another big thing too, and I'll let you guys speak, is this. We have been playing a checkers game while systems been playing this. We've been playing a checkers game while systems been playing this chess game. And so with chess is we need to have more people like us as prosecutors, as judges, as police chiefs, and things like that. So we have to start ahead of time, even encouraging our young Black youth that you can be more than just a rapper and an athlete. And that's all, and that's great, and do great things with that. But you also can be a senator. You also can go to law school and be our next judge and be our next lawyers and go into criminal justice and be our next police chiefs and all of that, because we need something huge and systemic where we are diversifying and changing culture and climate in the justice system.
Definitely. I think one reason, like you said, our economic base, the reason why we're low hanging fruit is because percentage wise, they know that we cannot afford a lawyer. And what do we end up with? A public pretender.
That's exactly right.
We can't hear you, Tyra.
You're on mute.
Hold on, my bad. I got it. I've been enjoying this conversation. Y'all talking about it, and this is what I wanted. Let me ask you a question, and then the viewers have some questions. The first question is, when we talk about the Black man in America, why is the black athlete accepted and more embraced than a career-driven Black man who might just be a doctor or a lawyer or a veterinarian or a construction worker or a community activist? Why do we always push our Black sons and daughters to the NBA or the NFL or all of those other places?
Doc, you want to answer that?
Yeah, Doc, go ahead. Go ahead, Doc.
Well, it's nothing new to some of that, right? When white people can profit off the backs of Black people, of course they can support it. They're making billions off of us.
They're show horses.
Yeah, exactly.
You can't run on that track.
Exactly.
Think about a show. Think about a show horse.
Yep.
While you're on that track, you're golden.
That's right.
If you after that, if you can't make some more horses for me, you're going to the glue factory.
Well, we see that because they told LeBron to just shut up and dribble the ball.
Shut up and dribble. Just shut up and run.
That's right.
They look at us like possessions. That's just like a racehorse. Yeah. While you're running, you're good. Once we're done with you, we're done with you. You get to a certain age and you haven't gotten yourself to a point where you can sustained yourself or diversified your money, they're done with you. It's over.
Well,
so
go ahead, Derek. Go ahead.
That's how. I mean, that's simply how they look at us. So I mean, I play professional sports, so I've seen it. If you're simply a showpiece for them, and that's why, just like a show horse, you see people gathered around the horse. Everybody's taking pictures with the horse. When the horse is done, the horse is done. It's done. I'm on to the next horse.
And Derek, you probably will agree with me why they're showing preferential treatment, because they making billions off of me, but I'm still not allowed to be in their circle.
Exactly. I can't date their daughter.
You can't date their daughter. Right. That's right.
Well, y'all want me in the house for dinner.
That's right. That's
right. So listen, it's a lot of white women that date black men that don't say shit on black issues.
That's true.
Absolutely.
But will be quick to put something black in their mouth.
That's right.
And so for me, that's a whole problem within itself. But the viewers had a question, so I'm working for y'all today. Am I doing a good job?
You're doing a great job.
Okay, so the viewer Shay Greg from B More wants to know, said, don't forget about the bond system.
Absolutely.
Then Bernard Loves Tyra Hill, my stalker, said the bond system is another monster altogether. How do you feel about the no cash bonds? Because we're really trying to get the bond removed.
Yeah.
Let's talk bonds.
Okay, so we talked about it just as the prisons, court systems is a multi-mega million-dollar industry. Nobody wants to talk about it. They want to say you show that logo of balance about justice and equality. Man, get the heck out of here. It's about money. What we really need is bail reform, not just criminal justice reform. There's certain pockets in the system where it needs specific reforms. Don't you see some of them courts? When the last time you seen a storefront looking court?
You petty,
marble. Are you kidding me? Don't play games with me. You making some serious bread. When have you seen a storefront court? I'm talking about city court. I'm not even talking about federal. Some of the balling out buildings are court buildings.
Yes, they are. Marble everywhere.
Marble everywhere, right?
Crazy money. Are you kidding me here?
Italian marble everywhere.
Are you right?
Looking like the Parthenon.
Yeah. So bail reform on a serious note needs to be reformed. It makes no sense. And again, it's going back to indigenous and marginalized people of color are paying the bad end of the stick. What we're seeing is a black or brown person or a poor person that can't afford representation go before the judge, and it's for petty crimes, and they don't have a whole lot of money, and they're sitting in jail, county jail. I ain't talking about prison, county jail for 6, 7, 8, 9 months for a $250 bond, right?
Or a book bag that you allegedly stole.
Say it again.
You got sent to Rikers.
Say it again for 2.5 years.
For 2.5 years. That's right.
Yeah.
That's right. And that's what we're seeing. And a lot of judges don't want to let loose on that because they're benefiting. Their courts are benefiting from that. And a lot of that need to come from legislation. I know that some judges will bend a little bit for. So you got a little loophole where people try to adjust. A lot of that need to be reformed through policy and legislation. And so I know a lot of times we talk about our president, our governors, but you really need to be looking at those local elections. Those are local elections.
Absolutely.
It's killing us.
You are saying too much right now, Dr. Holt, because that is the issue. Yeah. We want to vote for Biden, but come midterm, they're not going to show up. They're not going to show up. And that's the problem. That's what happened with Obama.
They have to show up because Atlanta has a really, really crucial election coming up to see if we take majority of the Senate. But before we get into that, let me bring this next topic at hand because we only have like 10 minutes left. Y'all don't
say one more thing about
y'all 13 minutes over now, but I'm gonna give y'all 10 more minutes.
Can I say one more thing about justice?
I want to talk about the black man and injustice for 5 minutes. And to close out, I want to talk about the black man and health and mental health. So right now, we're talking the black man and injustice. Hit it.
So the one thing I want to say about injustice and justice in America is that I've come to see, listening to other black men and their children, especially their sons, is the system has now become a processing unit for African Americans. So the other day, a friend of mine said, his son got locked up. He was with some other boys. Well, they didn't get locked up, so they were stopped, and the guy took all of their information. They took him down to the station. They fingerprinted him, but they let him go.
Yeah, let him go. Yeah,
they let him go. So that to me is, like you were saying, the new Jim Crow. That's a way for them to process our young black men. So that's new. That's the new form of police work. They don't have to do anything. The more African American males they can process into the system, get your picture, your fingerprint, or your DNA, because now they're even requiring some felonies you have to give up your DNA.
Yeah.
That's the new police work now.
Yeah.
But we are affected by it way more than any other culture. Right. So they're processing our children in the system so they don't have to do the new form of police work. Also, you were saying about African Americans in the system. A lot of African Americans that are in the system actually get eat up by the system. That includes judges, police officers. The reason why is those African Americans also have children and relatives. And when they need the system, when they need the system to work for them, meaning those other white people, my son gets stopped by the police, he's drunk driving, I need Billy Bob to call me. So then now they become a part of the system because they're going to defend Billy Bob because Billy Bob can defend him. So they get ate up, and judges too. Judges are the same way. Judges don't, judges drink and drive. Judges out there dating little girls and little boys too. They do illegal things. So the system eats those people with bad character. They get sucked into the system because they need the same protection from the system as those other ones that are privileged to be in the system. So they tend to side with blue because they know I'm safe on this side. My family is safe on this side. If something were to go down, I'm good on this side. So that happens with a lot of them. We have the great ones that actually defend us and will take their lumps. But the truth about it is a lot of them that get into the system, police officers, and that's my biggest issue with a lot of police officers. Like I said, the job is tough. Let's be honest, it's a tough job. There are real criminals out there. But then you find them, I say to them, this thing about there's a few bad apples. You know who that bad apple is. You knew that a long time ago. And why didn't you say something about that bad? Why did he have to kill somebody for us to see who that bad apple is? You knew he was a bad apple because he never spoke to you anyway. He stayed around his whole little white crew. So y'all knew there was something going on with this man. Y'all knew he was having issues, but you refused to speak up or to say anything because you're a part of the blue. It's a fraternal order, right? It's a fraternity. It's a fraternal. So we're going to take care of each other. No, that's wrong. That's actually because other people's lives are in stake. We're not talking about a regular fraternity that doesn't have other people's lives at stake. We're talking about people that have people's children, fathers, mothers. Their lives are at stake when these people go out there. You gotta say something about these bad apples. So that's what I'll say about those two. That's the last thing I have to say about justice in America, and that needs to change. It really does. Those people need to step up, and say something. They really need to be a bigger part of the reform when it comes to police reform. They have to be the biggest part of the reform. They have to lead it. We shouldn't have to look into what you guys are doing. You guys should come out and say, well, you know what? Bill, Bob, Jerome, and what's the name? They like we had the gun trace task force here. They end up in Baltimore. Look them up. They end up killing a whole nother police officer. They think we're stupid. Sean Spice, they killed another police officer because he was getting ready to testify. And these were black officers, black and white officers. So they protect each other. Those officers need to speak up. And if they don't, we're always going to have this problem. Because when you feel like you belong to something, and like a gang or anything else, you feel like you need to protect that group. And when a lot of them, when they get in, they go in with the right intentions. But once they get in, they see that they have that need to be protected by their group. Yeah, I drink and drive. Yeah, I cheat on my wife. I do whatever it is I do, and I need them to protect me. They get ate up by that same system.
Well, as far as a few bad apples, I don't subscribe to that. I think that if you are I think that if you are with someone doing something and you doing it too, and you standing on the sideline, you just as bad.
Just as
Like
bad.
you said, if you don't speak up, then you're not, then you are one of the bad apples if you don't speak up. You
Absolutely.
know, with injustice in America, they are literally playing with our lives.
Absolutely.
Basically asking, what are you gonna do about it? Hey, slap you with a felony. What you gonna do about it?
Right.
You know, that's what they do. They gamble with our lives. 30 years, 40 years. What are you gonna do about it? You know, and if you can't afford a lawyer, then then you're screwed. And so what are they banking on? But public defender come to you. All right, they say they're going to offer you 4 years at 30%, which is 12 months to 29 days. You got 7 months jail credit, so all you got to do is go do another 4.5 months, and then you can get out. But you got to plead guilty to do that. You know what I mean? And that's the way they get us. Like I said, we have the lowest economic base, and they know that we can't get out of the trouble that they put us in. That's why officers will violate our rights. What are you going to do about it? If they sit down, hey, why are you stopping me? Well, we'll get to that later. No, I know my rights. You need to tell me why you're stopping me. No, we'll get to that later. What are you going to do about it? You know, they're doing that right on camera. You know, so like I said, the only way that this will change is if we have black people and white people, prominent and non-prominent, standing together, recognizing the issue. Because as long as just last week, just yesterday, I'm still hearing, well, if they would just comply, then it wouldn't happen. Just saying it in general, if they would just comply, the things wouldn't happen. Dude, have you been watching this news? Have you been seeing it? It's just sound bites, and they'll just dismiss it away. People that just dismiss it away like that are people that are not going to support you on the cause.
Yeah. It's just like the All Lives Matter. Like, yes, all lives matter, but right now the Black House is on fire, so we're gonna focus on the Black House because your Lily White House is standing tall.
But that's nothing but a soundbite, though. All Lives Matter is nothing more than a soundbite in a rebuttal. There are no All Lives Matter rallies. When has All Lives Matter ever represented somebody in court or ever actually protested for somebody?
All lives should have mattered when they had them white only signs. Right. All lives should have mattered when we didn't have a right to vote, like just almost 50 years ago, maybe 50 years ago. And so for me, when I think about that and everything that we've endured as Black women, and now we're talking to the kings. If you're just chiming in, you want to go back and watch this whole entire show. It jumped off with the queens. We had a dope conversation. Now the kings are talking what it's like to be a Black man in America. And so we just got through talking about the Black man and injustice. Dr. Hope, you're going to start it off, and we're going to close out with this. Let's talk about the Black man and mental health and health.
Ooh, Lord.
I got 6 minutes.
Okay.
Well, yeah, there's some major concerns on so many levels. I mean, we probably should have started out with Black mental health, but I would say not only does Black lives matter, Black minds matter. And Black minds matter. And I think that we have looked over the mental health for communities of color. 1 out of 5 Americans are suffering from a mental illness that we already know. And we had a lot of issues with trauma, racial trauma, mental illness pre-COVID. We've seen that double. All of my clinical colleagues that are therapists, counselors, and psychiatrists and psychologists have said that their clientele have jumped double and triple. And so when I looked at my data, I saw in April, especially with COVID, with grief and loss, you had all of that mixed with mental health. We saw an increase by 30%, and then it jumped to 59% by July of this year. So that is crazy right now. And mental health is serious because in the African American community, again, we also have inequities with healthcare, right? Just because someone can get healthcare and have access to healthcare That's two different conversations, right? And then too, we have to remove the stigma from mental health. When I say mental health, what's the first thing people think about? They think about straitjackets, they think about electrical shock therapy, they think about a crisis center. And it's okay to get mental health. Because Tyra, are you ashamed to have a dentist to work on your teeth? Are you ashamed to have a cardiologist to work on your heart? Then
I ain't scared to have a therapist. I got one.
Right. And why would you be afraid to have a therapist to work on your mind? So we have to remove the stigma. Third thing, Black folks got to quit talking about these black, deep, dark secrets. These secrets is creating depression, PTSD, anxiety, and bipolar. I'm serious because we are.
When you say stop talking about deep, dark secrets, let's be clear, because I don't want, and I know you're not saying this, but I have to be clear because everybody don't think like us. We're not saying if you've been molested, don't say nothing. No, you tell that shit.
That's right.
But what are you saying, Dr. Hope?
That's exactly what I'm talking about. Abuse, maltreatment, these things that are creating traumatic experiences that has opened a door to mental health. Another thing, so you got me rolling. Another thing we have to look at in schools, we are misdiagnosing too many Black and brown kids because white teachers don't understand them. So we giving everybody a learning disorder and the ADHD. You need to slow down these diagnoses and understand trauma and understand chronic stress so we can create more healing. I'll throw it out. I want my brothers to come on with it, but
they taking notes. They're taking notes.
I am what? Black Lives Matter, but
But listen, let's talk about
Black minds. Black minds.
Black minds matter. Let me pin that back up there. And why, Derek, you said Black Lives Matter. I want to talk about that real quick. Let's detour just a little bit. When I think about the slogan or the sound bite, as Thomas says, Black Lives Matter, I support the sound bite because I believe that Black Lives Matter. But when it comes to the Black man and the movement, I have a problem with that. I don't think that the Black Lives Matter movement includes the Black man. If anything, I think it excludes the Black man. And the only time you will see something about the Black man on their website is if they're murdered by police.
You're absolutely true. I mean, I think the Black Lives Matter whole mantra is around the simple injustice of the Black man, but it includes it. That's the only time it really includes us, is that when we lose a life. It doesn't, like you said, it doesn't include the Black mind. It doesn't include what I would call the Black experience. So, you talked about your life, Tyra, right? So I don't know what the doc's life had a lot of, but we talked about yours.
You grew up in the gutter of Flint, honey.
Yeah, from Flint, from the hood.
There you go, from the so here's four of us here, right? Four intelligent Black people, and all of us have had our issues and a different experience, man. So I'm telling you, if we were to sit here and talk about our lives, we could sit here and write a book that was incredible. Because I can tell you some stuff that went on in mine. W's got a felony. I don't have no felonies, but I should have got a couple. I'll tell you that. My whole thing is the Black experience. It's different, and the Black experience matters, and it matters when it actually starts to show itself later on in life when we're dealing with these injustices and dealing with Black lives that matter, because they just don't. It just doesn't matter what we went through. The trauma doesn't matter. What we're going through at the time, like mental health doesn't matter. How many times have we seen? We just saw this the other day. It was a young man that had mental health issues, and a police officer went around the car with him, and the guy shot him. We see it all the time. We see it all the time.
He was naked.
Having a real mental breakdown.
Mental breakdown. And we have seen the exact opposite, where it's a Caucasian man with a whole knife chasing the police around. They got guns and they running from them.
No. We're talking about you can mass murder a whole church and get taken to Burger King.
Craziness. So Black Lives Matter is the focus is the death of normally when we see it come up in mainstream, it's the death of a Black man. So it starts there, But what it doesn't include is the whole Black experience, the whole African American experience of what we go through as Black men, Black women. They don't take any of that into consideration. None of what we're going through at the time. Like, you know, we've all had, I've been through things, Tyra, you know, you like we talked about who you talk to. You were talking to the young ladies about, you know, how y'all need to talk other than, you know, when you're doing something on the show, y'all need to check up on each other. You know, if I'm going through something, I call you, you know, because it's very few times as a Black man, you have somebody that you can really talk to that's not going to judge, that's not going to throw it back at you, not going to tell your business. All of these things that, you know, are crazy in the African American male community, all that bravado. And it tends to make our experience even worse because, you know, we're taught not to cry or to hold these things on and get through them. And those things bring about even worse mental health issues and even worse experiences. And we transmit all these things to our children and experience women because we've got all this bottled up. All this anger bottled up, all this experience bottled up. And instead of teaching our children, which all of us have done, it can come out a totally different way if you have a mental health issue.
So Derek, let me ask you this, and I'm about to get real personal, and then I'm going to come to each and every one of you, and I'm going to ask you a question, and I'm going to let you close out with saying something. Dr. Holt, I know you want to say something, so slide it up in there with your closing. When was the last time you cried, Derek? As a man.
I just cried, Tyra. You know what I went through. So I just cried. I'm a crier. So I'm gonna throw that out there. I am a crier. But I cry silently though. Right? So because I feel as though I can't let anybody see me cry. But I probably cried about a month ago.
Dr. Holt, as a man, when was the last time that you cried?
Well, to be honest, you know, not to be convenient, but I actually cried with the election. I had some tears because I felt like this cloud of darkness has been over this nation for 4 years. And we know that Trump didn't invent racism, but he sure did exacerbate it and empower it. And we felt the every day.
Especially if you were spiritual.
Yeah. It felt like just 48 hours ago. It felt, and it felt like with the new election, and we're not saying Biden is perfect, nobody is perfect.
Right, nobody's perfect.
But what I did feel, I felt a dawn of a new day, and I felt the breaking of a dark cloud, of a cloud of darkness that was over our nation, and especially over people of color. And we were heavily traumatized on so many levels. We were hyper vigilant, we were hypersensitive, we were struggling with being numb to a lot of things that we've been going through. So just to answer your question, that's kind of like, a few days ago, I did get emotional because, and then another colleague who's a clinical Black social worker called me and she said, you know, I just cried. And I said, well, I did too. And I knew what it represented.
So let's cry together, right?
Yeah,
it was just one of those moments, like I feel you, because I shedded a few tears, because if you are spiritual and you love God and people and humanity, and you have a mantle of prayer, or you have a mantle of leadership, it affected us in a totally different way. Like, seriously, it affected us emotionally, spiritually, physically, mentally, financially. Like, it affected us differently than it did others.
Yes, it
is. You get what I'm saying? Thomas, when was the last time you cried as a man?
When Biden was elected. I'm gonna tell you. And I'm gonna tell you why though. I'm gonna tell you why. It's because I think about my kids. Okay, Tyra, you and I, we grew up in Flint, Michigan. We grew up in the hood. We know, and we know how to handle ourselves, right? My kids live, I don't know if you know where St. John's, my kids say in St. John's, Indiana, okay? They go to a predominantly all-white school. They don't know the horrors of racism.
They don't know the struggle.
They don't know the ugliness of it, you know? And so when you hear about the Proud Boys and you hear about all the, the rednecks and all that, when you hear about them calling for a civil war, and I know my kids are not prepared for that. Yeah. I know they're not. And so I cried just thinking about my kids having to deal with that. How would they deal with, somebody just riding down the street trying to do something to them, or, can I get to them fast enough? Or, you know what I mean? That lifted, it was such a weight on me thinking about how I needed to prepare for this, I worry about my kids all the time. That's my first thought in the morning and when I go to sleep at night. I call them before I go to bed. I make sure I talk to them every day and throughout the day. And so just thinking about my son, I'm like, okay, my son, he'll probably be straight. He'll adapt. And I had this conversation with my daughter last week. And I said, baby, I don't care what happens in this world. I need you to survive and adapt. Okay. And because, like I said, my kids aren't here right now, but when I was incarcerated, I had to adapt. I'm not supposed to be here. I am not supposed to be here, but I had to, just for me to survive in jail, I had to adapt to that surrounding and move and know how to move and how not to move, so like I said, just the other day, is the last time I cried. Excuse me, when Biden was elected was the last time I cried because that weight was lifted off me. And I'm still on alert. Trust me, I'm still on alert. But even less now when I see how many people voted for Biden, when I see how many people voted against oppression and racism, because this was literally an election of racism versus anti-racism.
To America.
A lot of people don't want to admit that.
America do you want to live in?
A lot of people don't want to admit that.
Well, listen, Kings. I could talk to y'all all night. I could chop it up with y'all all night. We've been talking for an hour and 30 minutes. I want to give each king an opportunity to close out 60 seconds or less on a topic that I throw at you guys. Dr. Hope, what would you say to the king that's struggling with his mental health?
I would say always feel open to go get some help. But let me also be clear. I don't believe in a cookie cutter approach when it comes to mental health support, because all psychologists can't help because they don't understand culture. So you want to make sure that your psychologist is culturally relevant as well.
Come on now.
Understand your culture and your struggle, because all therapy is not good therapy. And some people are just doing some basic whatever out there. But you really want to have someone who's culturally relevant in their practice, understanding it. The sad thing is I'm afraid of in the DSM-5 is we don't have a legitimate diagnosis of racial trauma or Black PTSD. And we're seeing too many Black people are being affected by the traumas that they're going through. But let me say this, that there is, just because you've been traumatized doesn't mean trauma can, let me say it this way, trauma can be part of your history, but certainly trauma don't have to be your destiny, right? You can rise above your traumas. There is something called resilience. There is something called, even when the sourness of trauma comes in your life, you can grab some water and sugar it and turn it into some lemonade. And a lot of us have been able to do that and rise above it and help some other people. So just go and get the help. Forget about what people think. It doesn't mean you're crazy. It doesn't mean that you're insane. But when you need that mental health support, do all you can to get it and start the healing process, because the better healed you are, the better quality of life you can offer for yourself and for others.
That's dope. That's dope. Dr. Holt, let them know where they can connect with you at. Let the fans and viewers know.
Yeah, so you can reach me at the Trauma Center of Hope. I'm the founder of the Trauma Center of Hope. I am a national recognized Black scholar in neuroscience and trauma. You can reach me at my email at demonhope.com. And you can also reach me by phone in my office at 520-595-8885.
Dr. Holt, I love you. Derek, the question that I have for you is, what would you tell or what would you say to that single father out there? Because you've been on both sides.
I have.
You have a child who you are kind of distant from right now,
Mm-hmm.
but you're also been a single father.
That's
What
right.
would you say to that king that's struggling with fatherhood?
Be your best advocate. Advocate for your relationship more than any lawyer or relative could. They all can be repaired. It just takes some work. You have to be diligent. I know, Tyra, you know my story. My son saved my life, but the important thing is you have to be there for your children, regardless. Don't let anybody tell you that you can't do it for any reason. You know, I've been in the system. I've seen guys, you know, with issues in the system still get visitation with the kids, but you got to fight for something harder than somebody else fights for it. That's important. So, and in saying that, I do remember the fact that I did cry a week ago, Tyra, when my son went through what he went through. Mm-hmm. So, and I cried when he was going through what he was going through. So, you have to, you know, don't be scared to be a father. Mm-hmm. You know, don't be scared to be a dad. You know, there's no shame in it. No matter what your situation, along with the doc's advice, you know, if you have mental health issues, you know, don't be ashamed to get them addressed, to get help. And in that same thing, you can get family therapy as well. So, you know, your family.
What would you say to the estranged father?
To the estranged father is to take that first step. Most estranged fathers are scared to take that first step. They're scared to get that. They're scared to hear that reality that you haven't been here, or you know, they're scared to step forward and deal with their truths. You know, you gotta let those truths come out. If you haven't been there, you haven't been there. It is what it is. That doesn't mean you can't start being there now. So a lot of them are just afraid. They want to blame it on the mother. They want to, you know, blame it on their situation. Take that step, whatever it is. Of course, there are going to be some feelings hurt. There are going to be some you know, some issues, but you have to be worked through. It has to be worked through, but you got to take that first step. You know.
Thomas, Weldon.
Yes, ma'am. Yes, ma'am.
Thomas, King, what would you say to that king who doesn't go get physicals, who doesn't take care of his body?
Doesn't take care of his body, doesn't go get physical.
Doesn't go to the doctor, doesn't eat healthy.
The highest black men, actually black women, and then black men, then black men have the highest mortality rate from preventable causes.
Mm-hmm.
The highest mortality rate from preventable causes, heart disease and diabetes. Okay. Mm-hmm. What I would say to you is that you got to stop making excuses. You got to stop only doing things when you don't feel good, because everybody feels fine until they don't feel fine. Mm-hmm. And for some people it's too late. Tyra, you know my story. In my family, the father has not met the grandson as far back as they can remember. Mm-hmm. My dad passed at 42. Okay. You will, as far as going to get physicals and things like that, you will, I mean, people honestly think about it. Think about your car. Would you drive your car and not maintain it? Would you not go get the oil change, go get tune-ups, or would you just drive it until it breaks down and then go get a new one? You can't do that with your life. Mm-hmm. So you need to make sure that you're getting checkups. You need to make sure that you're putting healthy food in your system, because at the end of the day, like I said, I made a post about that. It's like everybody, oh, this food show is good. This show is good. And then next thing you know, when they're in the hospital, they're like, y'all pray for me. You know what I mean? You know, what did you do? You know, what did you do to prevent this? Mm-hmm. You know? And so I think that we need to start actually having these conversations. And it's not about looks. That's when I train for disease prevention. The looks is just just a product of how I live. That's just a side effect. You know, you're gonna get abs, you're gonna get, you know what I'm saying, you're gonna get all that. That's just a side effect. But what I'm trying to prevent is heart disease, high blood pressure. You know what I mean? Well, I'm trying to prevent diabetes.
Sugar diabetes. That's what you say.
High sugar. The sugars.
diabetes.
You know, I'm trying to live to see my grandkids. That's my goal. That has always been my goal, is to see my grandkids. That's one of my life's goals. So what I would say is, you got to start taking responsibility for your life and your health. It ain't all the doctor's fault. You know what I'm saying? It ain't Nabisco fault. It ain't Twinkie's fault. You know, you know what I mean? You're responsible for what you put in your system. Just, you know, like, hey, if you would you go to a gas station and you know they had water in the gas? Would you put that in your car? No, you would not. You need to start treating your body better than you treat your cars, because that is the vehicle that moves your soul.
I love you guys. This has been a dope and phenomenal conversation. This has been the best season finale ever. And
I appreciate you, Tyra.
Queens. I am so grateful to the kings. You guys have been transparent. You've been open and you've been honest. And I want to say thank you. We love you. We honor you and we salute you. Black man, king. You are appreciated. I love you, queens, to my queens, to Chia Morgan, to Vakayla Pope, to Shalise Williams. Queens, thank you for a dope conversation. If you missed any of this show on tonight, you can catch up and host a viewing party on this personal page, on my Tyra Hill personal page on Facebook, on the Tyra Hill Show Facebook like page, and my public figure page on Tyra Hill, and also on the YouTube channel, the Tyra Hill Show YouTube channel, and our Twitch channel, the Tyra Hill Show. Make sure you check out my website, www.thetyrahillshow.com. Go on YouTube, check out past shows. Thank you for tuning in. I love you. God bless you all. Stay up. Stay blessed. Have a happy holiday. And don't be having all them big gatherings.
That's right.
A pandemic.
Right.
Yeah, man.
Dr. Hope. Thank you.
Yes, ma'am.
Marcano, King. Thank you, King.
Thank you.
Thank you, W. Thomas Anderson.
Thank you for having me.
I love you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you, Tyra.
Good night.
All right, guys. It's a pleasure meeting y'all. That was dope.
Pleasure meeting you too, sir.
Keep up the good work, Doc Gov. You know, you the parent of the year, so keep it up, boy. Keep it up.
All right. Thank you, sir. Y'all be blessed.
You too.
All right, y'all.
I'll see you.
Me and my girls just wanna die down. That opportunity just grows. Hey, hey.